All right, we're live.
Okay, welcome into the Bitcoin Lobby, Thursday edition, an open source nest where we're having an open jam tonight. Me and BTC Fiend are hanging out, got Mike in the audience. And what's good today, Fiend?
I'm riding on very low amount of sleep. I worked 16 hours overnight last night, but I got home and slept a couple hours, so I should be pretty good to go. We'll see how it plays out, but
Do you have to do the night shift often or the overnight?
no, that's when I work for the city water department. They work some crazy hours because they have to turn off the water service to people overnight because businesses and residents don't really want their water service interrupted
Yeah.
during the daytime, and so it's one of those things you kind of got to like start at 11 o'clock and work overnight when they try to repair or replace a service connection. So yeah, they're crazy hours, but they give me a lot of money, so I enjoy working with them. Plus, it's always fun. These guys, the group of guys, are really cool. So
Yeah, that's cool. I understand. I'm on the Water Authority board locally, and I'm learning a lot there. It's interesting, all the different regulations and things that go on in that world. I guess we need some form of government for some reason, right? To
well,
get
we
the
need water. We need water too. So yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. We're like exploring a well, because like the way that all these relationships work, it's there's different counties that are bidding against each other, and the accounting's like like a year behind. It's crazy, but government moves slow.
yeah, they're usually about 20 years behind, from my experience.
Yeah, right. Well, that's
There we
good.
go. I was just reading UTXO just posted there was some kind of ordinal breaker JPEGs, how to break ordinals. Have you seen this?
No, no. Is this breaking news?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's breaking or not. He posted about 7 minutes ago, and here's the note. It says you can attack ordinals by broadcasting a transaction that messes with their protocol. It causes ordinal numbers to be off by one. You'll have to contact F2 pool directly to mine it, and they are willing to. Do whatever you feel is right with this information.
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, it's always an attack and a counterattack, right? So until you figure out the puzzle.
Well, and I think that's kind of like, how ordinals came to be in the first place is, people just willing to tinker with things and willing to break things. And so, if you can break things in the direction of shitcoinery, then you should be able to break things in the direction anti-shitcoinery if that's what you feel like doing. So I guess that's what somebody's decided to do. So we'll see how this all plays out. Could be another community war.
Well, got to get it figured out early and make sure move slow and make it resilient. That's the way to do it.
What's happening, KB and Satoshi Puz? Oh,
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up, man?
good evening.
Oh, what a day, man! I had such a good day, such a good week on all this stuff. Like, just watching all the developments. It's unbelievable. I can't sleep. Like this whole week, I just wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. So all these, everything going through my mind of like, how do I just build faster, So, uh, unbelievable day.
What's on your mind right now? What's exciting you?
Oh man, I mean, I think Jack Dorsey and what was it, OpenSats? They pushed some money in. I saw Jeff Booth's Fedimint, right? They raised a bunch of cash. Will's on fire too, man. He's the developer for Damus, of course, and I think he did a one-touch zap, and then he's also talking about potentially doing like a zap, like imagine a meter in a video game, right? Like your power meter. He wanted to do like a sliding kind of scale. So if you wanted to do like 100% of your sats or sats loaded in that meter, you could kind of do that, which I thought was kind of a cool way to gamify kind of a zap. What else today? Oh, it's a bunch of oh man. And then my partner and I we're both high school teachers, and we've just been educating other teachers during our Pro D seminars, professional development seminars about Bitcoin for I don't know, about a year and 2 years, almost year and a half, and we're just trying to get more ambitious, more aggressive with how wide our reach can go. And a guy in the nonprofit reached out that was like a national director. So yeah, man, I'll stop talking. But it's just like one of these days where it's like everything is just pure signal, and it just so inspiring of what we're all doing. I don't know how are you guys all?
Love to
Yeah.
hear it. Love to hear it. Keep up the enthusiasm and keep on orange pilling. Are you dropping any purple pills in on that as well?
Oh, 100%, 100%. So um, to me, they go together. I mean, I think to all of us, right? Like this goes together so well. And I mean, zaps, right? I mean, the power of zaps is so, to me, so huge when other platforms, apps, programs, companies, uh, onboard with zaps, and I just think it's revolutionary stuff, right? Especially Jeff Booth. I've been digesting a lot of his economics. I'm an economics high school teacher, so it's like
Oh,
it's
nice.
like a whole it's like a whole new it's like a whole new set of economics though, right? Based on completely different stuff. And it's almost like once you've seen how the meat is made, it's really tough to figure out how I'm going to move forward teaching any of the traditional stuff.
Yeah, his theories make a lot of sense, right? But it's just like one of those things that just seems so wild from our current understanding of how the world's supposed to work that you kind of pinch yourself and you're like, is this really real? Like, we can actually make technology that allows our lives to work less hours a week instead of, being under a money that forces us to make, work more hours a week, even though that technology is like picking up the slack for like so much of our human inefficiencies. And so, yeah, he's one of my favorite people in Bitcoin altogether. I just think the guy's brilliant. And yeah, he raised 17 million through ego death for Fediments. I think Jack Dorsey added 10 million to OpenSats. So there's money starting to flood in through the VC space as far as, with Nostr and then even just the greater or uh, Bitcoin development and Lightning Network development. So that's really neat. In regards to Zaps, what you were talking about, I had this idea. Well, I didn't really, it was my idea, but Ben Ark had a nice presentation on a podcast I was watching a couple of days ago where you could, he was on the stage and he put up some QR codes and he attached his arm to like some like shocking devices. And when people scan this QR codes and zapped him or whatever, he'd get like an electric shock. I kind of like made me think of an idea where if you had like a wearable, like a Zap wearable, where like you kind of maybe just had like one of those armbands where you were doing your exercise counters or whatever. But instead of that, like every time you got a Zap on Nostr or whatever, it'd give you like a little vibration on your wrist. It'd be like, hey, I got Zap. And so it's like, yeah, Zaps are amazing. I think there actually is a company that, as I was reading earlier here, it came out with some kind of wristband as well, where you can do some kind of like peer-to-peer zapping just by touching wristbands together. So it's really neat what Bitcoin and Lightning Network is going to be able to do, and some of the fun that we can have for it. And when it comes to like adoption of those kinds of things, I think these kind of things like wearables and whatnot are going to be huge to like get people to see the light on the potential of uh, this network. So
Well, how long till we see? You remember those shock belts? They like give you abs by shocking your stomach or something. They're around for a minute, like on the infomercial circuit. Um, so at some point we'll have that 8-minute ab shock from getting zapped.
yeah, that's what those things were. They were just like those like I don't know, when you go to the doctor or
Yeah,
whatever,
it's
and
like an
you
electrode or something.
yeah, that you attach to your skin, and then all of a sudden it'll contract your muscle based on, a shock vibration. That's what he put on his body, and every time someone tapped the QR code or scanned the QR code and zapped it or whatever, you'd see his muscle contract on stage. It was kind of funny going through the presentation, watching it happen in real time. So
Yeah, the sky's the limit. I'm so steeped in optimism right now. Just like you said, you see things starting to roll, money starting to flow in, development's happening. I mean, I like hearing economic high school teachers who are teaching their kids about Bitcoin. I think that's huge. I'd love to get more people. Maybe even like start like some sort of like a teacher, get engaged in those teacher conferences and stuff like that, and just need to get the message out there and get people to understand a little better. I had
Oh yeah.
go ahead, KB.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, man, it's coming. It's coming, and when we get progressive higher ups, like my principal, and now oh, man, like, this is part of it too. I got to share this, like, so, like, she was curious about AI, right? So I showed her GPT that this week, and she's blown away, right? But we've been screwing around with this for months and months, but she's blown away, so she's gonna use it now as part of her kind of weekly practice. And she was just curious about what else. So kind of in a simple way talked about Nostr, talked about Lightning Network, and there's a local cafe that's really well known in my city, and they just are started accepting Lightning, and she loves coffee, right? So I show her this and I blow her mind again, and she's like, you need to talk to the district superintendent, right? Or just basically like one of the higher ups in and I teach in one of the biggest districts in my metro, like metro region. So I'm like, yes, yes, we will do this. Like, so the stuff is starting, man, and it's wild. Like I'm up at 4 or 5 a.m. I can't sleep just thinking about all this stuff, and yeah. I'm just so stoked, right? Like, so the other piece. I'm inspired to delve into some of the back end. So it's like I got a Raspberry Pi 4, I think, and people keep talking about Umbro, so I'm like, okay, like let me poke around, see what those are about. And then also the whole nunchuck. I don't know if you guys have like the nunchuck wallet with the cold card, plus there's one other thing, and it's like a multi-sig setup. So it's just like I need more hours of the day.
Yeah, all the tools are rolling out, and it's just like so fun it's almost too fast. Like you gotta, between AI and everything happening in Bitcoin, it's like it's you do need more hours in the day to try to keep up.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where people find the hours with all the advancements going on with Bitcoin and Lightning, and now with Nostr. It's just like way too much.
And you ask me why I'm awake at 6 a.m., guys?
Run towards the magnet. That's what it's there for a reason. It's pulling you in.
Yeah, so I found that this band, this wand band, I guess they call it. It's called an Eden 3D. It's basically uses NFC technology to be programmed by any mobile device capable of reading and writing information to NFC related products. So simple tap use is this, like a pointer to your website, allowing customers to see with just one tap, make contact info easily added to your peers' contact list, set up LNURLP or Boat 12 to receive sats completely offline, automatically open a specific mobile app which executes any specific function, and tap to zap in your in real life Nostr friends, and many more and much more. So it's like $25. It's on like Eden3dprinter.com. It's called the Wand Band. So yeah, that's kind of cool stuff that's going on. You can buy it in different colors and stuff like that. It's got like the Nostr logo printed on it, designed on it, 3D designed on it. So
Starting to get some stocking stuffer ideas here for the
yeah,
kids.
well, that's the thing, right? We're talking about being educators and whatnot, and a lot of you guys have kids and so forth, and so getting these kind of things and maybe making something cool, kind of taking it viral, is going to do a lot to help adoption of Bitcoin and Nostr. So
I know we need more Bitcoin talk on TikTok. Need to get it over there. I ain't signing up, but maybe someone can bite the bullet. That's a tough part. You're not going to get a lot of privacy focused Bitcoiners to hop over to TikTok.
hey, we got a bunch of people in the audience. If you guys want to come up and join, feel free to raise your hand. Come on up. We're just chatting about general stuff today, everything in the Bitcoin and Nostr space. So lots to talk about. Everyone's excited.
What was the thing? Did you see the tweet on Blue Sky? They were trying to. They said, I don't know. I'm sure it was a joke, but something about why don't we have a Survivor style vote all the worst people off of Blue Sky or something like that. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know because I'm not familiar with all the people over there, but I just saw a screenshot of it, and that was the recommendation.
It's already starting to get toxic, like Twitter over there at Blue Sky before it even got started.
Well, it's right in the foundation. They're centralized, so
Yeah, I think that someone was kind of going off and ranting about how they're the CEO over there and this kind of stuff, and I was like, wow, what a great way to sell your decentralized social media experience. Just getting on your high horse and talking down to people about how you're the CEO of the project and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's weird to me that you can sell something as a decentralized service, but then put everyone on a wait list, and all of a sudden you'll get access when they dictate you're allowed access.
yeah,
And
I never liked that model. Even like Facebook did it. It just had some ick to it, man.
it
I don't
also
know.
seems like a limited model too, right? Like everyone says, and I mean this is just the truth, is that the best part about Nostr is the other stuff. It's not the Twitter clone. So it's like, if that's all Blue Sky is going to be, is just kind of a Twitter clone, a decentralized Twitter clone. I mean, that's cool and all, and people will enjoy it. And I think it's, necessary to have something like that in this world for sure. But like, having things built out like decentralized TikTok and Facebook and all these micro apps that Pablo's working on, doing a lot of building out like the self-hosting of things like video and audio is going to be huge. And so
Yeah, what? Imagine Noster in a year.
right. It's going to be so much more. I mean, you could kind of just extrapolate like most of the stuff that's entailed in the internet, kind of be putting on Nostr.
Yeah, it has a short life. I mean, I know a lot of people have been working on it, but it's really gotten the momentum, and now that there's some money starting to get behind it, that's going to really move things.
The best part of the community too is like when you have someone like KB come up on stage earlier on the show and just talk about how excited they are and just all the developments and kind of keep it on their head swirl. And I think that's kind of just indicative of this ecosystem early on where it's, everyone's excited and building and excited to see new development. Whereas, maybe some of these other social protocols or platforms or whatever are just kind of still focused, stuck in the mud, spinning their wheels with their divisiveness and toxicity and stuff like that. So
Well, the
totally
passion
different
is
vibe when you come out here. It just seems a lot more optimistic and positive and not, hopeless and pessimistic and divisive. So
well the energy is contagious. When you see people passionate about it, Pablo going full time in the way he talks about it, and it does. I mean, everyone in this space sort of feels it and sees like what this could be someday, and so everyone's just sort of running towards it. It's like everyone sort of knows their marching orders, and we all kind of work for Nostr and go out promote Nostr and Bitcoin adjacently, and just one orange pill at a time, one purple pill at a time. But it is exciting to get more into the education side of it, and it would be nice. What El Salvador's doing down there, building out like educational programs. Actually, I think they did that in Sweden, if I'm correct, where they invested some money into Lightning developers and Bitcoin developers over there.
I've
Bukele.
I lead. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, feel free, please. I was just going to say
Oh, I
that
was just going to say.
Bukele passed that law today. I think that came into law where all the people who are in the innovation space won't have to pay capital gains tax, income tax, property tax. I believe is another one. So it's kind of a if you're an innovative tech sector and you're building out some of the Bitcoin tools, it's going to be pretty cheap and easy to start and build your business there out of El Salvador. So that's really cool.
Yeah, the group. I don't know if you guys have come across them. They're called My First Bitcoin, but it's in Spanish, so it's Mi Primer Bitcoin. And they're basically like an ad hoc group of teachers and educators who are trying to build up curriculum, build up. They have like a diploma program, and I just messaged the kind of the head lady one day. She's really cool, super down to earth. Her name's Dahlia, and so yeah, we're connected, and they wanted the way they see it is they want that just kind of like Bitcoin is, everyone and anyone who wants to deliver their curriculum can be an independent node, but then they have kind of like another tier of nodes that kind of sort of more power users, I guess. And no, they're super awesome. And yeah, that recent news today is huge, because she was saying kind of a choke point to all this is not that the kids don't want to learn about it, it's that they just don't have the infrastructure really built, right? So like something that rolled out today, basically incentives for people and talent to build that infrastructure and support, the legalization of Bitcoin as tender is going to be huge, right? A huge to kind of support it from the ground up. So yeah, Dahlia, I try to support her in what she's doing in any way, but yeah, right now we're not quite there where I could roll out her diploma program in my econ course. It's just a little bit too long. So we've been talking about how do I kind of truncate it just a little bit, so that I could still teach all the other stuff and that I'm supposed to. But yeah, man, this is like I like the somebody posted the magnet the other day, and I was like, magnet, what is? But now I get it, right? It's just the gravity starting to warp, and we're all pointing in that direction.
Well, it saddens me. It's become a tale of two different countries now, where it's this was what the United States was supposed to be, where it's like, hey, this is an exciting new innovation. We should get on this early, educate, support, the early adopters, and however we can build out this infrastructure, kind of incentivize people to build out this infrastructure. Whereas now it's this all that stuff that was really like American in virtue is now going on in El Salvador, and in the United States here you got a crumbling financial empire of people, and now you have people that are in power that are trying to resort to authoritarianism, and Joe Biden wants to put a 30% tax on Bitcoin mining, which would effectively end Bitcoin's mining economy, I guess, in this country, which would be absolutely ridiculous. And why would you send hash off to another country, especially when you have entire states in support of the Bitcoin mining and whatnot? But it just seems like you have kind of a crumbling empire. Maybe the heart. I mean, I'm not trying to say that El Salvador is going to be as big as the United States someday. It's still a small country, and I think it's got its limitations in size and whatnot. But maybe it becomes like the heartbeat of the Renaissance 2.0, and maybe the epicenter of the Renaissance 2.0, where America's kind of maybe falling by the wayside and turning more authoritarian as they try to keep their slipping control of power in place.
Have you did you see the documentary that Peter McCormick did? It's called "Follow the Money." He just released his like third part of that, called it "Dear Elizabeth Warren." But it covers in good detail about like the economic benefits of Bitcoin mining, and it goes to a town in Texas and tours the facility, and people talk about the jobs that they got and stuff like that. It's well done, and but those are the things that are going to be helpful to people. Well produced, documentaries or feature films that people can relate to. So the more we can kind of build out like that talent too, the better we're all going to be.
Yeah, I fully agree. I got to share this as well. Like, just part of my like my manic craziness this week. I aim for the moon, right? So I'm like, my partner, I was talking to her, and her parents are educated. Her parents are doctors, right? And so she was saying, Kyle, like you understand this really deeply, but like nobody else does. And so she's like, even when you try to explain it, people get lost, you know, if it's just a dinner time conversation, right? So she's saying, what if we told the story of Bitcoin, but as like a Hollywood movie? And so my mind immediately went to Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball and he wrote The Big Short, if you guys have seen those. And like, and I was like, I kind of agree. And I thought, well, what would the story be? And her idea basically was, what if you told the story and it was about women around the world, under oppressive regimes or under just war, and there was really powerful stories about women basically fleeing from Afghanistan, from oppression, and the only way that they took their wealth with them was through Bitcoin. And it sounds unlikely, right? But there's so many of these stories, and we thought, fuck, if Michael Lewis could write that book and they could option that screenplay, and so like the movie's not about Bitcoin, but that's the underlying kind of threat to this, right? And I think if you look at the statistics from the World Bank, one out of every, I think, about 7 or 8 people doesn't have access to banking. And of those people who don't have access, which is like, it's like a billion plus people, the majority are women from rural poor countries, right? So it's like this really powerful story. So I wrote a treatment with AI and I just pitched him. I go, here you go, please help somebody, like, get this in front of him, right? You never know, he might write the book.
That's smart, though. I mean, you got to get those ideas out there, and even if it gets passed on, you're planting a seed, and it might come back around here down the road, or else get handed off. Some intern might read it and then go on to another venture. So it's just really putting it out there, and I've been doing that like with politicians. Like I write, you know, pro Bitcoin letters to my local politicians all the time, and I get callbacks from like their interns and stuff like that, or their staff. And I feel like it's just like, you just got to get people, just keep putting it out there, and somebody's gonna eventually get it. With enough iterations, they'll start to get it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear. Good work.
Yeah, you put it out into people's heads so many times, and at some point, maybe it's like the 50th time that they've heard about Bitcoin that come across their face in their life, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, maybe I got to start paying attention to this. But maybe the first 49 times or whatever, maybe their life is okay enough to where they don't think they need a Bitcoin, and so they might just ignore it. But at some point, it's like, it's going to get to the point where everyone's going to need to be focused on it, because things around the fiat standard are just kind of crumbling. So it just depends on how much entitlement people have, and so if they're kind of higher up there on the financial food chain, and they have access to banking and all these other tools that maybe some people in the global south and the third world don't have, and they're going to be more easily able to ignore it, whereas if someone needs it desperately to stop human trading or something like that, or some of these other human rights issues that are going on around the world, that Bitcoin is being used as a tool to help defend against, then people are going to pay attention. So I think, as far as your movie, like Alex Gladstein has just got a ton of these stories. I'm sure he would be a great like creative like a producer in this, because he's got so many people that kind of would have stories they'd be able to share that are pretty dramatic and real, about that kind of like fall under a Bitcoin adjacent storyline that would make for a movie, pretty intriguing movie.
Yeah, because there has to be a way. Like I relate to what KB was saying. Somebody asked me today, because I put a post up on Facebook for all the normie friends, and said, yeah, I think it was yesterday, but another couple bank failures. Are you starting to see it yet? That Bitcoin, you have two options: Bitcoin or JP Megabank. And somebody messaged me and was like, "Oh, can you help me understand that a little bit better?" So I tried to do a live video, and then I caught myself rambling, and I'm like, the Fed, and the Fed was created, and they centralized control, and then it's so hard to really just distill it down into simple terms so that people can understand and digest. You always want to, or at least I always want to, sort of go for the big picture. Well, here, let's talk about what money is, and the stones. They used to carve out stones and gold, and so just having like a quick, like, point to this direction, point to this thing is going to be helpful. And you got to meet people where they are. So there's got to be different types of entertainment that sort of integrate that into the conversation so that people can kind of relate to it from their own perspectives. But we
Yeah.
do sort of learn through story. I'm a big fan of Joseph Campbell and his like work on myth. And today is Star Wars Day, right? And May the 4th. And I think personally that the greatest of the Star Wars films were the originals, and a lot of that was based on Joseph Campbell's work. And but it follows the hero's journey storyline, and each the three tie in together so well and stuff like that. But that's the kind of classic storyline that like hooks people in, the hero's journey. And uh, the 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 Star Wars, the original ones were like creative and artistic, and then these new ones were like CGI, and they were entertaining. And it was weird because you kind of had to get the backstory, but um, I just think you can't beat that original art. So what other Star Wars trivia is there? I think it illustrates the point of how AI art isn't going to be as valuable as human created art. AI art is just a tool. I think, like, I'm trying to get these pictures drawn, or like an illustrator for this children's book, and I'm having a hard time. I emailed a couple people. I put it out on Nostr, a couple local places and stuff like that. It's just hard to kind of find that right talent. So even as like Nostr continues to get built out, uh, there's so much room for opportunity for like those type of sub communities and things like that. Because like right now, I'd just like to be able to go to Nostr, find a pleb, have start a conversation and send sats.
And I think, as the ecosystem grows, the talent pool and the people that are more artistic will definitely grow, and so it'd be easier to find people. Like someone like, like the Maxis Club, or the who's the other one who has got that plush toy with the Bitcoin, little Bitcoin figure, doll figure. I can't remember off the top of my head what that's called, but there are some, really creative artists in Bitcoin. It's just a matter of being able to put them together and try to accomplish something.
Yeah, talent's there. There's a lot of talented artists on Nostr too. I don't know if you've come across any of those. Like Isabella Art, I think is her handle. She always does a lot of oil paintings. Uh, Loco was over here. I haven't seen Loco in a while, but I like to always highlight the artists because this is like a prime place for them to build and capture an audience. I was talking with a guy on Orange Pill app that was local-ish. I think he was like 80 miles away or something. But he was telling me about like how he was doing. He was like music producer, rapper type thing, from the way I understood it. He said like his one like song was like featured in this commercial and stuff. And I was like, oh, you on Nostr? He's like, yeah. It got his NPub and stuff like that. And I put his name, put him out there today, and kind of give him a promotion. But I was talking to him about, hey, these Nostr Nests are like this great opportunity for musicians, like just to sort of showcase it. I mean, you got this passionate group that's ready to deploy Zaps, and it's this new venue. You got the Lightning Tip Jar. So now's the time to build. Like, come out here, get on the mic, and just do a little concert. I said, I don't, as far as I know, we haven't had like a hip hop or a rap type of thing here. We've had like Intuitive Guy does his jam, his vibe session in the mornings, and then we had like Jay do the thing with his piano, and then we had not too long ago there was a guy that was just, it seemed like he was practicing a little bit, but yeah. I mean, we need to bring in more talent into these nests and really expand it. I think it's just such a good opportunity.
Well, I think I read earlier today that Semisil had finished building an API for Nostr Nest so that clients could integrate whether or not users were on a nest or not. And so they'd be able to connect, and people could be on the client and see that someone was on a nest somewhere. And so I think that would definitely help, because if people are kind of scrolling through their feed or whatever and bored, and they want to join a nest or whatever, and they see one of their favorite their friends or one of their favorite follows on Nostr is somewhere in a nest, that they can come join. And I think that'll help increase awareness to the nest, and add to the numbers of people that are using this service. So it just takes time to build things out. But yeah, I mean, artists are usually the first to move into things. They're the ones who bring in the culture, and they make it cool for people. And so without artists in any community or ecosystem, it's kind of tough to be able to market and build interest for things. So it's good to see that. And every day I see like new artists popping into my feed on Amethyst, and so usually give them a follow. So
Yeah, same. Yeah, we gotta continue to build out. But that just go to the top of the screen. We're so early. Just goes to show. The landscape in front of us. It's just hard to deny with the passion that people have. I mentioned that the other day. Are people in Blue Sky near as passionate about it? I mean, people over here in Nostr, I think everyone like has a full-time job and is working for free practically, and just because they see the vision of this thing and the opportunity that's in front of us, and it's fun. I wasn't part of early Bitcoin, uh, or early Twitter or early any of that crap. I had to catch up, but like here, I feel like I'm hanging on. I see what's ahead. I mean, it seems very obvious for 1,000 reasons, but it's not going to become stupid obvious until it has to. And by then, I think a lot of these features, the clunky part of clunky Twitter, I like to call it, is a joke. It's going to be much better and much faster and more efficient. It's just so early that everything's getting built out.
yeah, the onboarding tools need to become easier, and we also need like that killer app that maybe separates Nostr out from some of the competition. Because I mean, it seems like that I saw earlier in the week that there was like this all women run business that's coming out with a social media app too, and obviously Meta is working on their social media app, and Blue Sky, and then you have Mastodon, and
It's
and
going to
then
be
you
like
know,
it's going to be like dating sites, like only
yeah.
farmers only, app, social media app.
Seems like you got like eight or nine different options trying to vie for the Twitter alternative right now, and so it's like, yeah, obviously Nostr with so we have some really nice clients with Damus and Amethyst, that are worthy of the conversation for sure. Um, but I think it's going to be easier for people to kind of take note of Nostr when we provide something that's entirely brand new, type of concept. Uh, that's a really neat use case and a really neat application that people can enjoy. And so it's just going to take people like Pablo just continuing to tinker with things, creating a gazillion micro apps or whatever, and kind of just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks type approach. And obviously with this funding now with OpenSats raising that $10 million, and it should only help assist to bring in new developers and new people with ideas into the ecosystem. And so hopefully one or two or 10 of these people will end up building some killer applications on top of Nostr. I also saw today that Umbrel is adding Wallet Connect through Alby, I believe. And so that's pretty neat. You can actually
Yeah.
connect your node directly if you use Umbrel.
So that's a big deal.
Right. I don't know if you guys all use the Get Alby extension for your Wallet Connect. If you have Amethyst, you can just do your one-click zapping, which is really neat and convenient.
So when
And
you one click zap, you literally it's like a like. You just hit it, tap it like that.
Well, so on Amethyst, really, you can kind of set up you can set up as many different zap amounts as you want and save it. And so, like, you could have like 21 zaps, 42 zaps, 210 zaps, 1,000, Satoshis, and so you can set up like as many of those. And so basically, all you do for the Wallet Connect is you click the lightning button, and then that list of zap amounts will pop up, and then you just click whatever amount, and then it will go through.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you don't have to go, take anything to an external wallet. The only issue is that the GetLB extension is obviously a custodial wallet, but GetLB also has that extension through your node, right through Umbrel, so you can actually run your Umbrel node through the GetLB extension, and so that's kind of what Umbrel released today was that with that connectivity to the Wallet Connect, so that you could uh, use the Wallet Connect feature on some of these Nostr clients. directly to your node. So now you have a custodial Zap wallet, I guess, so to say, and you don't have to actually go through an external wallet in order to Zap. It would just be an instant one-click
I
experience.
saw, sorry guys, I saw that Will posted a video of him doing like one-click zap with Damus, so probably a new feature of a new build. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, probably. Will's been busy lately. He's had a couple different builds come out in the past few days. So
How do these guys keep up with it? I mean, I guess they've been doing it a long time, but this
well, it's
seems like
kind of the
everything
thing. It's competition, right? Like everyone's kind of, it's an open market of building out new clients, and so if you don't, you're kind of,
getting
you might get,
behind. Yeah.
yeah, you might fall behind, and at that point, you're not the shiny new toy anymore, and you're not in the front of everyone's mind. You might never catch up. It's kind of like what Astral.Ninja or like Enigma or some of these other kind of now defunct Nostr clients have kind of gone by the wayside. At one point, they were kind of like the cool, shiny new toy that everyone was using, and now, hardly nobody uses it, and it's only been 5 months. So it's good
Yeah.
though. It's what we need, We need open competition. We need open free market competition. Like we don't need these walled gardens where there's the Twitters of the world can kind of dictate everything and just add the things that they want to add and that's it, and no one else gets a chance to add their own features. So I think the more the merrier, and may the best client win.
No, absolutely. I think it's great having the different clients, and that's part of a good selling point. Like demonstrating that being if we it'd be nice if we had more mobile options because there's a lot of desktop and but the mobile's pretty limited obviously, but it's neat to be able to kind of jump between them and just see the different layouts and different functionality. It
Right on
really
for
proves out like like why Nostr is so different than traditional legacy social media.
I'd also like to see, new mobile competitors than just Android and Apple. I think the fact that
Oh
both
yeah.
both of those companies have basically taken the entire market share of the mobile phone space is pretty scary and pretty silly considering like a lot of the stuff we're going to be using through Nostr could potentially be done with BitTorrent or WebTorrents, and so people have a lot of these great ideas for using WebTorrent or BitTorrent to kind of you do like video and audio hosting and those kinds of things decentralized, and Apple doesn't even allow that kind of stuff on their uh their clients or their apps. And so if you
Hmm.
have any of that stuff like kind of baked into your app, they won't even allow it on their Play Store or their
Oh
Apple
wow.
Store. Yeah, and so it's like you're gonna have these hurdles to get through to just to get your client. The neat thing about Android is you can kind of go on the GitHub or whatever and just download the APK file, and so you don't really need to download. Like I never download my Amethyst update through the Play Store. It's all through the Vitor's GitHub and the
Oh
Amethyst
really?
GitHub. Yeah, and
Okay.
so but you can do that really with any potential Nostr client in the future if it comes out. And so it's kind of free reign to be able to put whatever you want on your phone as far as an app whatever is concerned. But whereas like Apple, it's a little bit more restrictive, and they kind of have a lot more control, and they review it a lot more scrutiny on what is and isn't allowed to be put on your app that you're creating. And so it creates a huge choke point for an app like Damus and a developer like Will to be able to kind of extrapolate out his vision for his Nostr client. If he's not allowed to use WebTorrent or BitTorrent for anything in his app, and that actually becomes a big uh, deal, and a lot of clients start using it both on desktop and if on Android, then kind of be caught out in the cold, so to say. So we definitely need more alternatives and more operating systems, and maybe even obviously more privacy focused operating systems. Like Graphene OS, I think is one like alternative. You can kind of jailbreak your phone to install. But even just manufacturing and stuff like that too, I think we still need more competition.
Oh, absolutely. And do you think that the because they're steep in everything, in AI. It's like what they did with like pomegranates a couple years back. They just everything was pomegranate, and then passion fruit had to run. Now they're doing it with AI. Everything's got to have an AI tag on it and an AI flavor. So are they going to AI the phones, or like put out phone AI based phones, Chat GPT phone or something like that? And how the heck is all that going to work with stuff like this with Nostr and whatnot? Because I
Right.
think Microsoft announced that, or somebody, maybe it was speculation, that said by the end of the year Microsoft was going to have a AI phone.
I mean, I fully expect AI to be baked into, phones in the future. It's just going to make things more efficient and make the experience better for users. So I definitely expect that it's one of the, but then it's like one of those things like what AI are you allowed to use on the phone? Is Apple going to corner their Apple AI experience onto their phone? And how
But
well
they
does that
already have,
work? And
like, you can download GPT-4 personal computing software from GitHub now. And I think that's why that GitHub risk is actually bigger than we realize, because um, if that centralized source, folds on something like that, then yeah, you don't have options. But right now, as it stands, you can have those options to, have a closed circuit AI system essentially.
I haven't heard anything about. I know they were trying to attempt to build out GitHub on Nostr. I haven't heard any update on that. I know Jack was pretty big advocate of that early on, and I haven't seen any progress made on that. But
I
hopefully, at
think
some
he made a
point.
comment recently that indicated, it kind of with some concern, and I think that's valid, because I think the original was a bounty amount, and he put I think 10 Bitcoin or something like that into the bounty or something. I can't remember, but somewhere around there, and it's just not gaining traction or gaining what needs to happen. I guess so. It's kind of, he was asking kind of, I think curiously, what's next, and I think that's important to consider, because the bounty option isn't necessarily favorable for developers, because you really get a lot of the reward at the end. What is a better incentive system to incentivize people to build the decentralized GitHub?
That's a good question. I mean, definitely needs it because GitHub's owned by Microsoft, and so you really don't want to put that kind of power in the hands of an institution that with leadership. Bill Gates, cough cough, who people probably don't have the fullest faith and trust in these days, considering his ties to the WEF and his ties to Jeffrey Epstein and those kinds of things. And so his agendas and his policies, do you really want the future of free and open source development, at least as far as like a library is concerned, in the hands of that guy? Not me, really. So I think it's important that we look for alternatives. And obviously, there would be no better alternative than on Nostr, where nobody can censor code or you know anything that that gets put on there. So I think at some point it's going to have to come. But I think to Jack's credit and to Block's credit, they do a lot of forward thinking on things that are centralizing and try to prevent those kinds of shifts from happening before they do. And so obviously with GitHub's, that's a concern. I think the ability to uh, have mining chips that are made somewhere outside of uh, Asia, China and Taiwan specifically. I think that's going to be a big deal because you don't want to have that central choke point when it comes to the world's Bitcoin miners and production. So I think that they're making some good progress on that front. They're talking about a 3 nanometer ASIC chip, which is huge and seems like it defies physics, but if it works, that'd be awesome. Um, and then just kind of also thinking of ways to bring Bitcoin adoption to the masses. I think they've been doing some pretty good work with hardware wallets and those kinds of things, that maybe hardware wallets for normies. And then, obviously working on with their Blue Sky slash, his support of Nostr, just kind of creating a decentralized social media information tools as well to kind of go along with Bitcoin adoption, so that we do ensure that we have both decentralized money and decentralized information as something that sprouts to and is offered to the future of humanity. As we need alternatives from our sinking ships that are our legacy centralized institutions and governments that are only looking to enslave us and dominate and control over us. So, yeah,
Yeah,
kudos.
it poses an interesting question, in regards to the direction that we're going. And I think a lot of people are starting to kind of awaken to. COVID was a big one. They're literally swabbing DNA of everyone, and Lord knows what the heck they did with it at some of these labs. I'm sure it wasn't like all nefarious or anything like that, but that's where we are. You're either going to distribute the data, and people are going to have some sovereignty to it, and this is like a backwards battle, because we have to kind of claw back a bit, because everyone was so willing to give over their data for free access to Facebook and all these social media sites. But now I think humanity, we're 20 some odd years into this experiment, and everyone's kind of realizing, at least certainly in this space, and but I think it's broadening out, that people are starting to realize that it is important owning your data, and because people are getting banned. It's like a wrong think, wrong speak. You get the slap on the wrist, and you get the restriction, 30-day restriction or whatever it is. So people are certainly aware because of that. Venmo, I know, has suspended a handful of people too. So like those type of services are actually doing Bitcoin a favor by continuing to do that type of thing. And oftentimes it comes like falsely, like one of their AI or something like that falsely captures something and they reverse it or whatever. And it makes you wonder, is that just a power flex? Are they saying, hey, we can? Or is it really just systems like that broken that they can't, or they try to automate it too much? I don't know. It's but that's the fork in the road. I mean, you're going to own your data and have a privacy focused lifestyle, or you're going to trade it, your information for the convenience. And we all do it. I mean, I do. Like the one thing that kind of bothers me is that I love my like watch. I have a Garmin watch, and it fitness tracker. I like keeping my steps and making sure everything, my heart rate and all that crap. But I don't own my own data. I don't own my own body's data. Google, I think, bought Garmin out, and that's something to put deep consideration into, especially because that's important. If somebody wanted to, I'm sure there's something valuable in there. When I what sort of and they can tie these things together. If they have some, I mean, like Apple or whatever, they see what you're watching, and then they see your heart rate accelerates or something like that. It's just like a dial they can dial in on. And yeah, it's important to kind of separate those things out so that you do have sovereignty over your own information that's stored inside you, with in terms of your body functionality.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about identity theft and needing insurance for identity theft, and it's like, it's just because it's easy to steal people's identity because our identity is everywhere and in the hands of people of central institutions or businesses that some are may or may not be protective of your information. And so a lot of times, their databases or their employees accidentally leak sensitive information of their users out into the dark web, and then that could kind of get sold off to maybe nefarious people, even more nefarious people than the people who collected the data initially. And then they utilize that to kind of phish you and try to spam you and try to steal from you, and then or steal your identity and maybe steal your credit card information, use your credit card. And so I think for sure having sovereignty over your own digital identity is huge. And I think also on top of that, being able to build out an internet experience to where your digital identity isn't forced to be tied to your real identity. Something, like Nostr, where you can spin up an npub as publicly or as privately as you want, where, I can include my face, my name, my full name, my date of birth, where I'm living or whatever. If I want to let that information out there into the world, I can. Or you could just know absolutely nothing about me. And so, things like KYC and AML, I mean, they only serve to kind of hurt people in the long run, because even if you are a good law-abiding citizen and not a money launderer or a drug smuggler or whatever, some of these nefarious, quote unquote nefarious people, the terrorists or whatever that these authorities are trying to craft these laws around, you still can be hurt by having your privacy exposed over the internet. And so, if we can kind of start to build out these tools that kind of resist, or maybe give us a newfound digital bill of rights, and a digital sovereignty and digital ownership, cryptographically, secured, in order to protect some of our most important pieces of information, then it's only going to help assist people in the moving forward.
Yeah, it makes you wonder too, like, because think about like face scanning and things like that. Most phones have like the face scan, or fingerprint scan, or they used to. So even that information is stored somewhere in Apple's servers, and yeah, I mean it's concerning, but I think at the end of the day, it's hard to organize all that information, and hard to there's human beings running a lot of these type of things, and they're subject to human flaws and human fouling, and I don't worry like big picture, like are they going to create like a secret dart to take me out or something like that. I'm sure that's possible too, but um because you got to look at that data as a commodity, and I mean certainly uh, the people that are the metadata handlers who are extracting this information are looking at it that way. But I think it needs to come down to the individual level and have a critical percentage of people that are going to just sort of build the wall around and say no, we're gonna take our information and we're gonna own it. But I think we're at the beginning of that kind of. I hate to use the word revolution because it seems so grandiose, but I mean it is in a sense, and whether it's a cryptographic or a privacy focused revolution, it's something. Um, but yeah, I mean it's something to that we're all sort of striving towards, and I think that the momentum just gets strengthened with like the emergence of Nostr, and because now we're building new communities and new networks of people having conversations, like this, a dialogue, a conversation back and forth. It's not like a debate about macro, or a debate about what's going on in the war. Like we've been so conditioned by these little clickbaity television news, 24-hour news, bleed and lead campaigns over so many years that it almost felt natural. I remember that like in 2020 election, it felt like natural to like want to have conflict, but that's not how people are, and I think this is like a real sort of step back and kind of a new renaissance period for and a new opportunity to build something new. And like I said, I'm steeped in optimism because of that, because I see the people that are passionate behind it. It not I we haven't really hit the super scammy section of Nostr yet. It's pretty plebby right now. We haven't got spammed out too much yet. I mean, there's a handful here and there, but it's not as bad as my Hotmail account or something like that. One of those old email accounts. I have to check my old AOL account. I still have one somewhere. It's probably full of Nigerian princes trying to, have money wired.
I think, credit to the relay operators early on for being on top of kind of curbing all the spam accounts and whatever, kind of getting that off Nostr early, just kind
How
of
do they
making it
do?
hostile.
I'm curious how, like, because just from like on a granular level, how do they do that?
I think they
I,
just kind of look at like the amount of, like, you kind of got like a rate limit or whatever. Like if you post 1,000 posts within like, if you're clearly a bot, you can post like a lot of posts over and over, or do like replies to people, or follows. And there's kind of like little ways that a bot can tip itself off to people. And then it's kind of you can look into the relays because everything's public, and so you can see what's being said. And I think it's one of those things they just kind of like delete, the MPubs. I don't know if they have some kind of filter bot that can go through some of these MPubs and just kind of just label them as spam and just delete them or whatever. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's there's just anti-spam tools, I guess, that have been developed over the years as well when it comes to these things.
do you remember the early days of the internet? Like, and I remember my dad. He worked for the phone company, and like our first, computer was he had a laptop that he brought home, and like that was like when they gave you the CDs to plug into for like AOL. And you got like 400 free hours or 100 free hours or something like that. Remember those?
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
the
Well,
CDs.
yeah, we got that. We had one of them, and I remember like going over the hours, and like they got charged some crazy shit there, and yeah, and they were mad. I remember that. But the early days of the internet, and it was all like stupid stuff, looking up like chat rooms and stuff like that.
Well, that's another thing that's going to have to evolve if Nostr continues to grow is the amount of data, data limits and those kind of things, because Nostr uses a shitload of data. And so if you have a hard cap on your data on your phone plan or whatever, you want to be a hardcore Nostr user, you might hit your limit real quick.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't even know how much because I'm addicted here to Nostr, and I hammer it pretty well every day.
Should
Wonder how
check
much I'm using.
should check my phone here real quick and see what my usage is.
What's that in settings?
Holy moly. So from April 21st to May 20th, so we're only so this time period, I've already used 9.3 gigabytes on Amethyst. And that's just one Nostr app, right? And I have 4 relays, just 4.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can imagine if you have I'm in an unlimited plan that kind of throttles after 40 gigabytes.
Mm.
And so if I hit over 40 within a month's time frame, then I start getting really slowed down on all my mobile app data. But you can imagine, some of these data plans are only 9, 10, 12 gigabytes, and that's for everything, right? That's for streaming YouTube, that's for emails, everything. So yeah, we're gonna have to find some way to curb that problem at least early on. I don't know how we can do it from a client side or a development side on Nostr, but also if it is something that is going to just be like a massive data consumer, and some of these providers, service providers, are going to have to adapt as well to a changing consumer landscape. Maybe this whole idea of data restrictions kind of get thrown by the wayside because it just wouldn't be practical
Well,
or feasible.
yeah, didn't they have that? We talked about that recently. The net neutrality. I mean, that was the whole thing. They were trying to put limits on the data consumption. But that's like such a mindset. That's the WEF mindset. We
Right.
have to have eat the bugs and make sure that we aren't emitting too much carbon. Like instead of like letting humans flourish and discovering new opportunities. It's put restrictions on what's already out there, and I think these people, in some serious sense, believe that to be true. But it's go back in history, and has the world ever run out? I mean, there's been famines, but they've been caused by either weather or governments. Typically governments. Um, but we haven't run out of oil. We haven't. Those doom and gloom stories have been around forever, and it's just the propaganda machine just outputting what it does. It's just oh yeah, stoke fear amongst the masses, so that they stay within these walls and don't go beyond it and ask questions.
Right, and this, kind of the left mindset and everything it's based around is like, okay, we want to try to steer humans to willingly allow themselves or willingly want themselves to eat dog food and pay the price of a filet mignon to eat what the human equivalent grade of dog food would be, and rent a tiny 10-foot by 10-foot box cube as their home and try to charge the price of a mansion. And so if you can try to get people to actually like believe that's their reality and that's like the little box they want to go live in, and they can charge an astronomically high price, and that just increases the wealth inequality gap and disparity, and it leans in favor of their side. So they're just acting, being the leaders of corporate interests and the leaders of government and the leaders like in in conjunction with like the elites of the world and the super massive rich. That's just what they want. That's what they're incentivized to do. They're incentivized they're always incentivized to provide you as little as possible for as much money as they can possibly get out of you.
Well,
And
that's
so that's
exactly
kind
right.
of that's just how they formulate their plans and their philosophies and the you owe nothing and be happy propaganda that people are supposed to swallow. And it's good that people are seeing this and being like, wait, this world's starting to get a little screwy for me. It's starting to turn into clown world. I don't understand why we have to think this way. And maybe I don't want to think this way, or maybe I want to eat steak. I don't want to eat pellets, Amazon pellets for dinner. I want to eat a steak. And so I think, there's obviously been a lot of pushback in there
Well, it does
against
help.
that kind of agenda,
It does
fortunately.
help that Klaus Schwab is the exact image of like the Bond villain. I mean, like the bald head. I mean, but
Right.
with Austin Powers, Doctor Evil. I mean, he was like the the car- caricature, or so to speak, of the Bond villain. But like he like resembles him so much. It's just so ironically funny.
And I wonder if that's kind of by design too, just kind of set someone up as like this
Yeah,
evil
it does look
character
as
or whatever. Maybe we're focusing too much attention on Klaus Schwab, and maybe it's actually some people that are behind him that are underneath that are kind of in the shadows that are really pulling the strings that maybe we focus our attention on the wrong guy. I mean, I don't know, but maybe that's
well.
kind of by design, right?
He was a protege of Henry Kissinger.
Kissinger, right?
Yeah, and that guy, like, I don't mean to sound like in like a grotesque way, but like him and Charlie Munger. I mean, who's going first? One of those guys is, if there's odds. I mean, Kissinger. I think he's older, maybe by a year or two. And I have a respect for both of those guys for different reasons. But yeah, I think their outlook on life in this modern world is just kind of it's it's overstayed. It's it's welcome, I guess, because they just don't. And in Charlie Munger's defense, I just think it's like him and Warren Buffett both. Like how long did they take till they got quote unquote got Apple and bought Apple stock? I just think it's just they just don't get that part of technology, and they never will.
Well, it's also where they're incentivized, where they're making their money, right? Like if they're making their money off the legacy system, or they're making money off of having control over the money printer, or having early access to the money printer, then they're at an advantage. They're at a competitive advantage compared to you or I, who has to kind of pay the 15 to 20% interest fee of the bank, whereas they get their loans for nothing, or they just get free money, taxpayer money, whereas we don't. And so it's just like everyone's kind of looking for an angle to have a competitive advantage. And if they've already positioned themselves to be at the source of that competitive advantage, why would they want to change that world? But these people they're old, like they're dying. A lot of people that subscribe to kind of this old world thinking. I don't know a lot of or millennials and Gen Z people who are like all up like on on the Klaus Schwab train. You know what I mean? Like I think most
No.
people are kind of like, if you think Klaus Schwab, you're like, wow, douchebag, right? But right, maybe there are older people in maybe the boomer generation that are, maybe more like, oh, this is the way it is, this is the way it'll always be. I'm set in my ways, and this is just, how I kind of lived my life during this legacy time and centralized systems, that it worked for me and that I'm not going to change. And so there's a lot of that too as well. I think there's like a quote, some goes similar along the lines of like, progress is made with every nail in the coffin or something like that. Or
Yeah,
some,
yeah, I've heard
I
that.
don't.
I mean,
And so it's kind of like, in order to kind of move on and advance and progress as a society, that sometimes just people just need to get old and die, which is
yeah.
sad and, kind of maybe a
Well,
mean
it's
thing to say,
reality.
but it is reality kind of in a sense as well.
It's the circle of life. There does need to be that death for rebirth and regrowth, and it's true in nature. It's true in societies. It's true across many things. It's you just I've learned to accept that this is the way it is. And like I'm not going to be you know contributing to all the death and destruction part. At least I'm my focus is on trying to align for the rebuild, and I think we're starting to do it. I mean, we talk about it almost seems static, or it feels static, that you're going to have this like instant like death is here it is, here's the line in the sand, and that's true to some degree, but it's also a process. I've experienced this personally, just through life. Somebody who is dying, it doesn't happen like right away, like the movies. It takes a period of time. There's a wind down process. And I think that's true for societies and economies and all those things. And I think we're just kind of like near the end of that wind down process. And, whatever's going to happen with this banking situation is probably going to, um, you know, uh, it's gonna, because I mean we've been kind of in this wind down like we saw the peak in what 2020, at least in the financial markets, and it's been kind of like all downhill since. But this banking situation, I mean, is it another band-aid, or is it going to be the one? I mean, it's hard to tell. I've learned to accept that I certainly don't have control over that. So just what I do have control over are, my keys and cold storage and my node and all those things. So I'm just going to focus on what I have control over.
No, I think in regards to the banking system, I think there's a plan in place. Um, I do believe there's a lot of nefarious actors in the world. I think that human incentives aren't aligned when you have it centralized institutions and some of these central choke points. I think that's where incentives differ. Is like the people that have access or have the power or have the control in these central institutions kind of think in the way that's going to enrich themselves, whereas they're going to leave everyone else out to dry. And so I think it is nefarious when you try to view it from a perspective as like, does this help billions of people around this world, or does this just help me? And so um, I think like I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to consolidate the banking system. We like I think I said a couple of days ago that 30 years ago there were over 10,000 banks, and today there are under 3,000. And you had that first big blow up that kind of was the start of the contagion in 2008, and we're just kind of seeing controlled destruction where they kind of like they blow stuff up and then they bail out who they think that they want to bail out, their friends and their big the big corporations, the big banking corporates, and then they let the small local and regional banks out, leave them out to dry, and then they either get bought up or they go into bankruptcy and fail. And so now today you only have like 3,000 banks, and what was in the middle of 2008 and 2020 was just a big printing event. And so what they did was they just threw in a bunch of money, screwed up the economy on purpose by printing a bunch of money, and then let it destroy again and consolidate. And I think this time we're not even at the end game, right? Like a lot of the times this contagion takes months trickle down. And so, I only expect it to get worse. Derek Ross has joined us. He's posted a lot about that bank, the Pac West, I don't
Pac
remember what
West
they're called.
Bank, yeah, out
Yeah,
of California.
Pac
Yeah.
West Bank, how they're failing now too, and they're ready to go under. And so it's just now that'll be bank number 4, and that's only been a couple weeks since SVB, right? And so you kind of have to extrapolate that out for a few months, and I mean, who knows how many banks and how big this round of capitulation is going to be. And then, they're going to follow this up when they get it down to another lower number of banks that are available. Then they're going to follow this up with a big print, right? And then they're just going to try to blow it up again, and then just further and further consolidate down until they get to
Rin-
the point,
rinse and repeat, right?
right? Until they get to the point that they like, which is maybe just a handful of banks or whatever, and they kind of dictate everything. And then you don't small local businesses and small businesses don't have the kind of access to capital that they once had, because they no longer have relationships with their local banks anymore, because there is no local bank. Every bank's based out of Wall Street in New York, and so we don't have that kind of personal relationship anymore with the bank, where they kind of see the local economy's needs, and they can maybe more cater to those needs. And so it would be a lot easier to reject and deny someone's American dream for a better future and starting a business and becoming an entrepreneur, because all these decisions are kind of made from even more central authorities, banking authorities. And there's only going to be a handful of them. And so, good luck if trying to get a loan to start a business, or some kind of startup funding to start a business, if you only have 6 choices versus 10,000 choices, right? And so it's just going to hurt our economy, and it's just going to give rise to the corporations, the bigger corporations. They're going to continue to swallow up small business, um, and so yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, in hindsight, a hell of a plan. I mean, because I don't think there's many people who agree that it's like an accident or a coincidence. I mean, there's, between the choke point 2.0 and like, there's been conversations about this. This is pretty obvious, like even FTX seems very aligned with, some sort of intelligence operation. And I mean, what can we do about it? Well, we can buy Bitcoin and we can build a better system. And, that's what it is. I'm done complaining about, what the shithead government's going to do, because they're going to do what they're going to do. And, I have limitations. I'm on the school board, the water authority board, and I'm going to try to do what I can there on my little local level, and, and try to message and whatever. At the same time, I'm going to try to help promote Bitcoin, build a relationship with people locally, and try to, build a new a Bitcoin economy, because that's what you have to build the lifeboat before the ship is completely sunk. You have to have an escape hatch, and Bitcoin is that lifeboat. And the tools just keep getting better. They keep popping up. The people are getting smarter. We just got to continue our route of education and growing that network of people. And my kids are Bitcoiners, so hopefully, and when they're of age, or 18, or working class, then they're starting to talk in Bitcoin terms. Do you accept Lightning here? Hopefully it's a lot more integrated by then. Um, but I think there's going to be a lot of that, because I think the next generation's smarter than we give them credit for, and I think they're talented, and I think that they're ready to sort of accept the role that they have in this new world. And it like you said, Joe Biden ain't going to be around. Donald Trump ain't going to be around forever. Henry Kissinger and Charlie Munger, I don't know how long they're going to last, but they've been hanging for a while. But eventually, the world's going to turn over, and it'll be a fresh start. And I think we're on the right track, and I think the right people are in the right place, and we're heading in the right direction. But yeah, it's It's all good.
Well, and it'll be easier for people to make the transition when there are people that have already built out parallel ecosystems, right? Whether it's informational ecosystems or monetary ecosystems or agricultural or like with the beef initiative and Bitcoin, like farmers and cattle ranchers and all kinds of ecosystems that are kind of get built out, maybe in defiance of kind of the big corporate centralized structure. And so if when people do start to feel the pain, if they do have different alternatives that they can choose from and that are made available to them, then it's going to be easier for them to make the transition. Because it's one of those things. Like, it seems obvious that you and we see what's going on with the controlled demolition of our banking system, like, because we're paying attention. But there are a lot of people that just don't even pay attention, have no idea, and so
And
it's not
don't care
obvious to
either.
them,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you always say, like, meet people where they're at. Like, there's a lot of people whose information and knowledge of where they're at is like basically zero when it comes to what's going on right now. And so they just see, these bank collapses, and they maybe just think it's because customer withdrawing all their funds, and like, oh, blame the customers for this or whatever. And they don't understand that there's actually policy that's being put in place to just destroy these smaller and local regional banks. And so it's like, they're not going to get mad at the Fed or whoever, or some of these big banking corporations for doing this nefarious activity, right? But because they just don't know that it's gonna, that's been the plan in place, right? But it's like for us, when we pay attention, because we're kind of, we pay attention because we're in Bitcoin and we believe it's an alternative, and so we try to look for the flaws in our enemies, or or the alternatives that are inferior. And so we pay close attention to these things, and we see the patterns, and we see what's going on. So it's easy for us to decipher it, but some people just have never had a critical thought about money in their life, and for them, they have no idea what's going on right now.
I think a good crossing over point, like I have, like where I live, there are a lot of Amish on the other side of the mountain, and we go over there, and they have like a lot of good Amish. You get a lot of fresh vegetables, and they have all kinds of stuff over there, but they accept cash only. I think the tipping point is if we can get the Amish to accept Bitcoin. I think that's when hyper Bitcoinization is happening.
Well, the Amish are also really good at building up parallel economies. I mean, you want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
that's
exactly.
like that's like their whole thing, right?
Well, that's what that's why I think like there's such an interesting crossover there, because like you look at a lot of what's going on in Nostr, like it's a lot of, there's new people, there's curious people, there's some artistic people, and then there's a lot of like homesteader type people, like that align with that sovereignty kind of mindset. And I find that, like, interesting, because like it's attracting the right people. Like these are like infrastructure people, like people that do self farming, or like you said, the beef initiative, those guys that are working on that stuff. Like, it's not a coincidence that, like, it's all the systems are aligning with like the critical infrastructure first. It'll be curious to kind of see how it unfolds. And but it's like I said, the timing is right for everything right now. So Nostr is that Trojan horse, and for Bitcoin, I think we just need to get more people to Nostr. That might be my new orange pilling technique, is just dip them into Nostr, get them some zaps, and set them free. Because I think you need to experience Bitcoin, and let go on your own journey. Like I said earlier, I was trying to explain to a normie on Facebook today, and I just got lost in my own thought, like just trying to lay out um, what Bitcoin is and why it's good. I had someone comment on, like, oh, if you should have bought it at 50,000. I'm like, dude, I did buy it at 50,000. I bought it at 60,000 too, and I have zero regrets about it. And but like I see it in a different perspective. A lot of people see it as gamble coin. People are kind of have that gamble mentality. It's like everywhere. The lotteries everywhere. These like little skill games and casinos, or like pop-up casinos, are everywhere. So there's like a gambling sort of conditioning going on with a lot of people, and but we have to frame it. It's an investment more than a gamble. Uh, but that's the going back to meet people where they are. That's exactly it. You got to find where people are and try to meet them with some form of empathy and combined with humility to help them through this, because if shit does get bad, then we gotta be the lifeboat. The people here and in this room are all good people and Bitcoiners and here on Nostr, and it's a helpful community, and I think it's important that we're building that culture out that way as well, because we need that. Twitter is steeped in like doom and gloom. We need more people that are constructive and here to help.
I agree that the easiest way to get somebody orange pilled is just to give them get them a wallet download on the app and take their address and throw it on Nostr and be like, just hey guys, hey plebs, just zap the shit out of this, would you please? And then
Yeah,
just experience them just getting their hearing their phone vibrate, all just zapping them satoshis.
feel the zap.
And then
Well, to know.
then you see that, and then it's easy, and then like it's like wow, I can actually just get this from just somebody posting something on a Twitter post or a note or whatever, Twitter like note. Like it's pretty powerful to me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Tanel that is on the stage. He was doing great work. He was talking yesterday. I'd be curious on an update on the lister concept. He was trying to build out lists to basically like greet, like the welcome committee, like greet people with a list. Here's your interest. If you're interested in soccer or football, as they say. Here's a list of people that are interested in that. If you're into fishing, here's a list of people that are into that type of thing. So I think there's like there are things that can be done, and I'm curious, what's up to now? Let's hear it, brother.
Hey, buddy. Glad to be on the stage with y'all. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest thing right now is actually how we can connect Lister.lol and in the Pablo Coin 3 XYZ, and also have like a search API similar to Nostr.ban on Lister.lol, which would make the listing process a lot easier. Because right now, when I'm on my desktop and I Google or I search for a keyword or a hashtag or try to list all these people up, it takes such a long time. I mostly do it on my phone and then send the npop to myself to add on the list. I was trying it with fishing because if I pick a bigger topic like let's say Bitcoin or whatever, the amount of people on there is gonna be like incredibly big. But eventually, I hope there will be like the process of when you set up your profile, you could possibly add like three, four, or maybe even five keywords to your profile, and you would automatically be added to those lists. And by having those lists already ready for the new users, we would have the onboarding be much easier, as they would have like a much bigger of a community for everybody to talk to and get those people to onboard them and also have a nice chat really about the topic that they like already.
Well, what if like you had something like some of these I think like Reddit does something like this where you when you first sign into Reddit, it's like, list your interests or whatever, and then it says sports or whatever, and then you click on sports, and then it's like then it goes like MLB, NFL, soccer, NHL, and all these other like professional leagues or whatever, or college or whatever. And then you click on that, and then it'll like maybe populate like a list of like maybe the popular sports teams in the field that you like or whatever, or maybe it's music or whatever. Then maybe you get an option like a field where it's like enter your favorite band name or whatever if that band isn't like in the part of the recommendation list or something like that. So I think
Exactly. That was exactly actually what I was thinking about because it's been around for numerous social medias and numerous platforms previously. I think Twitter does or used to do at least the same. You at least have like 5 or 10 interests. So even if you don't follow any accounts, at first, then you at least have a list of people on your feed who you might be interested in potentially. Like we aren't going to have an algorithm, but I think list is a great like a middle way to avoid algorithms, but at the same time help people onboard and find people that they might be interested in following potentially.
Well, and it's all optional too, right? Like you can just bypass the whole list process if you want and just start basically at ground zero. But it's just, yeah, finding ways to be able to connect people and to build out sub communities is going to be huge for Nostr adoption. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to kind of like get yourself into little clubs or groups or whatever you want to call it, the people that maybe have some like-minded and similar interests as you. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. I mean, it's aligning people with their interests and getting people to start engaging. You know, the complaint, and I think it's like a saturated complaint that, you know, all we talk about is Bitcoin. That I mean, there's been people. I mean, Derek's big on this. You know, just try to like, get something new, grow Nostr initiative. You know, BTC Fiend, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and talking about your records and stuff. I'm kidding, um, but you know, engaging in those type of things where people, you know, are interested in these other topics, not just Bitcoin, because I don't think the conversation is all about Bitcoin. It seems to be broad for me, but you know, I'm on a subset of relays and have a subset of exposures and in my experience, but you know, but I'm also into Bitcoin, so I'm more attracted to that conversation too. So, but you know, I've seen users. I think it was our friend Ferret mentioned the one day about, you know, her onboarding was, you know, not favorable because it was all Bitcoin talk or something like that. But I think a lot of people are really trying to put in an effort. I know I am, to try to at least expand beyond that and just sharing, you know, day to day stuff, food stir, dog stir type things to really expand that conversation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be really interesting because right now, um, a lot of people that join are going to follow the big accounts as always, and but they want to use Bitcoin out only as a method of sharing value and receiving value. Maybe they don't want to talk about it necessarily, or they maybe don't understand and do not really care that much about developments behind Nostr, behind different kinds of clients that much. So, but it's all a matter of preference, and I think having interests or keywords and the possibility to index through different kinds of categories and lists would make it a much pleasurable experience for all parties involved, really.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what we're looking for is engagement, right? I do this Grow Noster initiative where I try to post. I mean, maybe I've been slacking the past couple of days 'cause I've been so busy with work, but where I try to post some different piece of my vinyl collection every day and just show either a short video or a photo of some of the, you know, things in my record collection. And it's like, I have no idea who cares about this, you know? One of those things like I just throw it out there and I'm just doing it because it's not Bitcoin talk, right? And so, but it'd be,
It's
you know,
interesting though.
if I could actually get like involved like a vinyl community or audiophile community where people actually have some, you know, conversation about it, and I could, you know, maybe geek out about it more, you know, it just increase engagement. That'd be nice. But I'm just doing it because it's something different, you know.
Seth, you were going to say? I think you were mid sentence.
I got rugged, but I'm back. What I
Well,
miss?
Fiend, anyways, regarding your music collection and audio files and everything, like, I would love to create like a list of people who, I don't know, appreciate good music, but it's going to be interesting. Like, how is it going to be? Should I create like a really niche list? Should it only be people maybe that enjoy vinyls, or should it be a more like a bigger list regarding like everything music? Or that's the one thing that I've not decided at how to approach it really. Like, should I like approach it from a big list perspective, or make it as like close or like as tight as possible in sense of like being really niche and really certain on how I limit it.
I mean, that's the problem, right? It's like if you just did a hashtag music, made a music list, general music list, it's like you're talking like, do you think people who listen to Britney Spears want to talk with people who listen to Mozart? Like, no.
That sounds like a really good conversation, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, yeah. It just, I guess my point is that it's just such a huge, huge subject that you probably need to get more nuanced
Well,
in
they
the
are
list.
doing all those crossover, country and rap guys, and so that's a lot of modern music has devolved into that. But
I mean, no offense to all the pop music lovers out there, but I don't really care to go into detail and discuss Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime performance with anybody. So. I got my 44-minute fish tweezer jams from Greek Theater Berkeley 417 2023 that I want to nerd out about with people in my nerdy fish communities.
But okay, let's take you for example. Would you want it to be like a vinyl community, or would you much
Yeah, I
rather have
think
it
no, I think
be like a
vinyl's a
genre community?
I think vinyl is like a broad enough scope, right, of maybe a nuanced music discussion. And so I think if you kind of maybe you don't look too technical and specific, right, but you're not too general either.
yeah, I
It's
have a
like
I have a friend that
audiophile, like being like a sound like audiophile, like that's got its own sub community, right? And then vinyl's got its own community, and even like digital music, like that's probably got its own community, like high res digital music. Then you have different genres of music like rap or R&B or rock and roll or heavy metal or jazz, or classical music, and so you can maybe make some more sub community or subgenres in that. Um, yeah, I mean, there's just so much, right? Like it's such a huge, huge subject and such a huge, wide-ranging, globally ranging subject that I think that if you just kind of painted a broad brush over and said like hashtag music, I don't know if we'd get the kind of connection to each other that we think we would. Because like, I mean, how many people in this world do you know would say no if you ask them do they like music, right? Like basically 99.9% of the world probably will say yes if you ask them do you like music. And so I think some people have some kind of musical discussion in their body or in their brain, right? But it might not be what you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I was curious of whether I should do, like maybe the easier way to go about it right now will be languages, because I don't think you can just purely sort your content or the content creators purely off of language. You can have like certain relays or certain hashtags, but like I think people maybe would love to have like all the Spanish speakers or all the Japanese speakers would love to have like a list for Japanese content creators and all also a different list for English speaking or English speakers. So it will be divided, and I guess if you have like two, three different languages mixed up, it will be maybe much more difficult. So that will maybe simplify it for them.
yeah, that's a good point. Like you almost have to like factor in a hierarchy of needs. If language is kind of like a top need for communicating and distributing information, then that's going to be important.
And maybe have like especially for onboarding means those who don't have English as their native language possibly being onboarded by everybody that's speaking Spanish, or being able to reach out to them in it like as fast as possible instead of having to search global for that would be much better, to be honest.
I think some point down the road too, you hope that some of these clients have really good translation tools as well, so we can connect with each other. I can connect with people speaking Chinese, and they can connect with me, and maybe through AI, potentially making the translation experience easier. Maybe that's
What?
something down the road where that'll help kind of bridge the communication gap between each other.
Well, it's not seamless, but it's pretty easy. I mean, I've been like speaking back in Japanese to some friends in Japan, in Japanese, and through the translate feature, and um, it obviously it can improve, like be more integrated, but I think it's okay right now. It's just, but yeah, there are those like dialect, you miss some cultural sort of gap, like of enunciation or something like that, or it's hard to rely on it 100%.
Well, even I think more importantly than just like the language part is maybe just the cultural part that goes with the different languages. Like
True.
people still want to be, kind of like grouped into like their locale. And so like if I got, a Chicago message board, or I want to connect to people from Chicago and talk Chicago things with people about Chicago, then it'd be easier for me to connect. And so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the language listing and filtering that Tana was talking about.
You guys talking about those hot dogs with pickles on them and shit?
Yeah, you got to get your veggies. Hey, you know what? So many people come in from outside of Chicago and try it, and I haven't had
It's
anybody
fantastic. I've had them,
who
man.
doesn't like
They're
them.
great.
Yeah, honestly, I have not one person that like got repulsed by it, unless you're just like an anti-veggie person. But honestly, it goes good, man. I don't know.
No, I've enjoyed. I've tried it. I've had them. I love it.
You
I
know,
have a friend of mine from Chicago, and he was always like, what's the thing with ketchup? They're like anti-ketchup or something over there.
yeah, I mean, people do probably in the comfort of their own home eat hot dogs with ketchup, but in public, you're not supposed to be caught with it. It's kind of like
It's
faux
like
pas or
wearing
whatever.
white after Labor or
Yeah,
Memorial Day or whatever. Yeah, or
exactly.
Labor Day. Yeah,
I don't want to get too much on the hot dog conversation, but the cool thing about the Chicago hot dog is that you can go pretty much anywhere in Chicago and basically get the exact same Chicago hot dog, because they all kind of use like a Vienna beef sausage, and they use like an S rosen bun, and I mean, all the toppings are basically from the same distributor. And so like any hot dog stand that's like still around that hasn't gone out of business over the years because it doesn't have the right taste is basically serving you the same Chicago dog. And so I think that's kind of neat, where you can just be anywhere in
Oh
Chicago
yeah.
as a tourist and just go taste the same Chicago hot dog that the locals have been eating for years now.
No,
So
that's awesome, man.
consistency, right? Consistency is important. But yeah.
It's part
Anywho,
of the brand. The only thing hey, not to get too anti-Chicago, but the deep dish pizza. I mean, we might as well call that bread lasagna. It ain't pizza. I mean,
it's got all the ingredients. It's an upgraded pizza
just
experience. It's all.
just heavy on the
Wait,
bread.
is it actually any good? Like, we don't
Oh
have
yeah,
it in
dude.
Europe at all, so
Fucking
for us, it's a
yeah.
foreign thing.
2 words: Lou Malnati's. Best damn
Oh
pizza
yeah, is that
ever.
the spot?
Dude, if I was on death row and I
That's
needed a
your last
last
meal.
meal, that's my last meal, man. And I mean, it's kind of cool in Chicago these days, kind of shit on deep dish, because like if you want to be like in the cool foodie scene or whatever, like it's kind of like, oh man, let's try some New Haven style pizza done in Chicago or whatever. So it kind of gets cool to like knock on it or whatever. But I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just a traditional Chicago, and I lived here my whole life. I love this shit. It's
No,
great.
I appreciate that.
My family still, has it at parties, kids' birthday parties, and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, we do eat it. It's not just a tourist food.
It's stapled into the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we eat Permani sandwiches around here. Not that often. Only when I go to Permani's. But
What is that?
oh, it's a Western Pennsylvania sandwich with like slaw on it. Oh, Derek doesn't like it. He's shitting on it. It's good. I don't know. I think it's good. It's the slaw. It's a pepper slaw that goes on top, not a coleslaw, a pepper slaw. But it's a Pittsburgh thing, I guess. That's because I don't associate that much with Philadelphia. It's that's kind of New Jersey, and nice place, Liberty Bell, all that stuff. But I grew up closer to Pittsburgh, I guess.
They
And
got their cheesesteaks and their broccoli robs down there. What do they call that? Something pork. What's it called?
the pork,
Roast pork or something? There's some
pulled
kind of
pork,
pork. some kind of pork sandwich with broccoli rabe that they're famous for. Like Tommy Dynix is like the famous one in Terminal Station down there.
Oh,
What do they
yeah.
call that? Something pork. I don't know. Whatever. It's a pork sandwich. That and their cheesesteaks. That's what they eat down in Philadelphia.
Well, it's a cheesesteaks with cheese whiz, which ain't cheese. And that's like fake cheese.
Yeah. Old me would have been like, all right, I'll crush that cheese
Well, yeah,
whiz.
yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm not
Catch
eating.
me at 2 a.m., brother. That thing's gone.
I'm
But
not eating pure chemicals these days with my bad colon.
yeah, seriously though,
Hey, see, we've even turned the Bitcoin lobby into a hashtag Grow
we aren't
Nostr
even talking
initiative.
about Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the food lobby now.
What is Bitcoin? I don't even know what that is.
Everyone needs food. Not everyone's into
Yeah,
Bitcoin, but
yeah.
yeah, it's good. I mean, hey, we gotta appreciate. I like to cook. I like to cook more than I like to eat, I guess, in general. But I do appreciate like a good dish. And today I just threw a bunch of stuff. I had like leftover rice and broccoli, and I just like put it together. I went for my walk this afternoon back in the woods. It's been raining here for like a week straight. It won't stop raining. It's annoying as shit. Like I actually tried to cut the grass and it started raining. It was like it I don't remember it like raining for a week straight. And I got to go to camp tomorrow, and so I'm not going to be able to do a bunch of stuff and whatever. I'm complaining, but uh, it's what the hell was I talking about? How did I get off on raining and tangent
You
talking
like to
about
cook.
broccoli?
You like to cook.
Squirrels? Is there a squirrel somewhere in here? I don't know.
You made some kind of rice dish,
Oh
impromptu
yeah,
rice dish.
I just had all this stuff left over and I threw it together. But I have this I have like a steady stream of kraut. Like there's like I can't get away from the kraut. I make my own sauerkraut, and then there's like people around me that make sauerkraut, and they sell me sauerkraut. They're like, "Hey, you want sauerkraut?" Well, I have no idea why there's so much kraut around me, but I have a good amount of kraut in the hopper, and so I'm trying to throw kraut on everything, and it just happened to make it to my rice, broccoli, egg dish for lunch today because I had leftover rice and I had some broccoli and I needed to cook that. And then the kraut went on top, and I had some microgreens that I get from a local, and it was good.
Well,
You
you
got to
talk
try it.
about
Kraut
talk.
makes a pop.
Oh yeah, you talk about hot dogs, man. Kraut dogs. Just put some kraut and some mustard on a hot dog. Boom, you're done. That's all you need. Or you put it on a Polish. Man, definitely kraut is excellent with encased meats. That's for sure. And it's good for you too. Fermented foods. It's good for
I
the
love
gut.
fermented foods.
Yeah.
I drink kombucha every day. I've been doing that for a long time, 2 years probably. And then yeah, I like the fermented foods. I've done broccoli. I've done garlic. I've done cauliflower. I actually have fermented cauliflower at camp. I'm gonna go back to tomorrow. Kind of excited about it.
Some kimchi. Those red onions,
Kimchi's
fermented red
great.
onions. Oh man, delicious.
There's a great Asian market not too far from here that I go to, and I just stock up on that stuff all the time. Yeah, I love the fermented foods. But that's, the ferment lobby. That's where we're at. It's all good. What are you guys doing down in the audience? Mark or BTCRN? Anyone want to come up? Just raise your hand.
Renegade Butcher. Hey, if you're listening, man, I got that raw milk hookup from Aaron from the homestead.
Oh,
Yeah.
he'll come up. He's.
What's up, Renegade?
What's up, brother?
Sweet, dude. Hey, man. Hey, just just getting ready to get back on the road, so I wanted to listen in. But hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you got a hold of you. She didn't couldn't find you at first, but I got her. You're in pub, so yeah, sweet, awesome. I didn't know how far out she was from you. I figured a couple hours, but I didn't know how much you wanted to travel.
Yeah, she is, but she gave me a couple websites to go to. And one's in Northwest Indiana. They actually, what they do is they'll actually they have like drop off points where they'll drop off within like Chicagoland area, and you can just go pick it up if you order online. And so they sell raw milk, not only raw cow's milk but goat's milk too. So and then I
Oh,
think
that's fucking
they
awesome.
also sell meat.
Sweet.
Yeah, and so this is one of those things. Like I got to figure that some kind of resource exists. I just need to be able to connect to it because it's just impossible.
You just got to find it.
I don't talk to farmers here in
Right.
Chicago, man. I talk to Cubs fans.
Oh,
There's,
right. Well, we're
there's
seeing a
no,
lot more of them show up on Nostr, which is great. It's
yeah,
like they're all of that same mindset too. They just they're a little slower to get to the tech side of things.
right, exactly. Well, we got the similar incentives aligned, right? Sovereignty and produce your own
Exactly.
food and
Exactly.
eat food that you can pronounce that doesn't have a gazillion chemicals listed on the back of the ingredients. And so, yeah, I think
Right.
Xanthan gum or whatever.
it's yellow, blue 3, 2-1. I don't know.
Red number 9.
Shoot, we were on my show the other night trying to trying to set up like a black market avocado ring or some shit like that with Satoshi Puzzles over here, I think.
Nice.
Yo, really?
Maybe.
You're gonna know the cartels get in on that, man. I heard
maybe we are the
control
cartel.
the avocado trade.
Set it up on
Maybe
the
we are the
marketplace.
cartel. We're the purple nostriches. You don't fuck with them.
What's up,
We are the
brother?
cartel.
You got these avocados, homie?
We need gang signs. We need Nostr gang signs.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Would it be like? Would that be like AI hands? Like it's got not enough fingers or some shit?
I don't know. My wife works with. She works in a prison. She works with a lot of these gang members and stuff. It's actually interesting.
Okay. So ask her what gang signs aren't used,
Well,
so we know what's available.
Well,
it's like a domain name.
We're gonna try to
claim it.
map out Nostr with our.
We need to check our Urban Dictionary to find out which gang signs are still
Right.
are defunct. So we can,
Who do I talk to claim to a gang sign? Is it like ICANN or is there like an authority for this? Is it like the FBI or some shit?
Dude, if someone living in Chicago, man, this is very important information that I definitely need to get right. If I get it wrong, man, I'm over. Game over for me.
Right. It's like that. There's got to be like an FBI gang unit that has a book on this shit or something somewhere.
Yeah. One of those informational flyers. Use this sign, not this.
Right. Exactly. These symbols may be symbols of extremists.
You can wear purple.
Did you see that one a while back?
You can wear purple and black.
Right. Did you see that one a while back where they were trying to basically say they were a potential terrorist if they had the Gadsden flag or some shit like that? And you're like, really? That was like a war flag. What the heck,
Jesus.
So give it time. Give it time. Purple ostriches are going to become a symbol of radical extremists that are anti-government. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it.
I will greet them with hugs.
I don't know what kind of freaking warped brain would associate the fucking Gadsden flag with fucking terrorism. Like, there's like founding American virtues. Like, what the fuck is the matter with you?
Because those people will stand up against the corrupt government. So, of course, a corrupt government sees it as a threat towards a corrupt government.
Yeah, absolute power corrupts.
Brainworms,
sadly,
man. Brainworms. Like, just do a little bit of history. Just do a little bit of history. That's all.
Well, I think that's what happens. Is it like people lose the sense of history? I mean, because history's taught, through propaganda and other means, they lose that sense of reality. And even like the history of the United States, the founding of it, Civil War, all the things. Culture matters so much, and I think that's going to be an important aspect of us moving forward. I mean, I think a lot of culture has been like dictated through Twitter, so people think like, oh, go to America and it's like trainees on Bud Light and whatever. I don't know, but go talk to your neighbors, and like there's a lot of good people around, like, and smart people too.
There are.
Yeah,
there are. They just don't. we've all been so divided, which I think has been a big part of it. But what's crazy is if you go back and look at the founding of this country, we were a bunch of rebels rebelling against a corrupt government, and what we were rebelling against back then is far less insidious than what we're living under now. So it's one of those, we look at the world we live in, and of course the government doesn't look at the government sadly looks at people like us as an enemy, which says more about the government than it does about anything else.
Well, I think
Which
it's
is
a
it's a sad
portion
state
of
of
government.
affairs, but well, yeah, it is more than government. It's just government's kind of like an easy label to slap on it, but it's more than that. Honestly, our government is mainly run by major corporations and banks right now. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great big monetary circle jerk, and as it all starts to fall apart, well, who gets to pick up the pieces? The little guy.
Well,
Yeah, there was a pretty
good.
funny meme that came out that I saw earlier this week where it was like they had a picture of someone on the left and a picture of someone on the right, and the person on the left was like, the billionaires are destroying our society or whatever, and then like the person on the right's like, the government or the they're like the corporations are destroying the society on the left, and the on the right it was like big government is destroying society, and it was like the guy underneath was like corporations running the government are destroying society, and so it's like both sides kind of like have half the story right. It was like the full picture is like you're both
You're both
right, but you
right, but
yeah. You're just not coming together on this whole
oh
idea.
shit.
And so we're just being divided on both being right.
It's that Spider-Man
Oh
meme where
man.
everyone's pointing at each other, right?
Right.
Hey, a little subject change, which you mentioned to me. One of Pablo's little projects that what is it, Nostr or what, where you can schedule posts. That made Zapathon way fucking easier for me. I could focus on zapping people. I just pre-staged all of my memes throughout the Zapathon, and
Oh,
then
really?
just zapped people. I didn't have to post anything. I just sat down and went, okay, let me just schedule all my posts. I'll just post a meme every couple minutes.
I was
And
wondering
yeah,
because I
so
was like hitting you.
the whole Zapathon, I didn't have to freaking sit and post. I just zapped over the people's shit.
Was this
I was like,
he's got a
I was
site
like,
where you can pre-schedule your posts to a certain time?
Yeah,
So
let me
you just, man, dude,
yeah.
I
It's
was like,
nostrit.com.
Nostr.
Nostrit, like nostrit.com. I
All
just
right.
figured today you have to have the NIP7 to log in and everything like
Right.
and set your permissions and shit like that. And then yeah, you go in and you just type up what you want, and it's different events triggered. Either date and time, it can be like be a certain Bitcoin price. He has it set so if a shit coin drops below a certain price, you can schedule. But all kinds of things trigger it. But you can literally put pre-post, which is great for like if you run a podcast and you want to like post promos and stuff ahead of time. Like I like to have a reminder come up a half an hour before I go live or something. I'm sometimes on the road or whatnot. I don't want to have to stop and post all that manually. So I was asking somebody which developer is going to make a post scheduling web app or add it to an app. I bet you it's going to be Pablo. And somebody comes back and they're like, this site.
I think he dropped out.
yeah, I think.
Dude, I don't know how Pablo has all the hours in the day. I mean, it just seems like every day it's just a new micro app. It's like,
You
what?
know what? He's a fun guy too.
Oh
He
yeah.
is. He is.
He's so
What was that
fun
post
and
by Roya, though, today? We have the same 24 hours a day as Pablo. What are you going to do with him?
yeah, right.
Well,
That was a great post.
dude, and the crazy thing is, like, when Tannel and Sleepy did their 24-hour uh, Nostr Nestathon or whatever you want to call it, that was like his first weekend.
Yep.
He was actually starting to work on Nostr full time. He actually had a job with Swan Bitcoin before then, believe it or not. Like, how are
Yep.
you doing all
Yep.
this? You got to do your job
Well,
and with Swan, and then you're doing all this stuff on top of it. It's crazy. Now he's got like full 24 hours a day to be able to work on Nostr. It's going to be incredible all this stuff he comes out with.
I think he had to almost go 24 hours on Nostr because the guy already had so many projects that he was developing, and he'd be halfway through one project and he'd see a squirrel and start on another one. So I think eventually he just ran out of time for his day job.
I think that's a lot of developers in a nutshell. They
Yeah,
see a big
Yeah,
shiny
squirrel
yeah, it
nugget, and
face.
all of
is.
a sudden it's like, stop what you're doing and just get over to this real quick. But this Nostr is
I think that's
a
kind of how we all
revelation,
ended up here.
right? Well,
Dude, I
yeah,
know. I just found out about it yesterday, and I was like, this changes my life. And I was telling my buddy about it because he does a podcast too. And I was like, you know what? I said, that's it. I'm just pre-scheduling all my memes for Zapathon. We're going to see how this works. We're going to test it today. And it went flawlessly.
You
I
did
had memes
well.
dropping every 2 to 3 minutes.
I,
I was
I
like,
actually
holy
thought I was
shit.
like, I was like, Josh is like
You're
he's
like,
like hammering it out, man. Like he's
how is he
consistent.
posting all this? Holy shit.
I was like, he's in a
I was
parking
trying to
lot
not be
somewhere
too.
posting this.
Nope, I preset all that shit this morning. I'm not gonna lie, I made all the memes and then preset it all while I was taking a shit before my shower this morning. So that was just great.
Were you able to hammer? They're pretty easy to schedule and hammer out real quickly. Like you could just hammer
Oh,
one after
super
one
easy. I
after
mean,
one. Yeah.
all I all I did was I would build up my meme, I would toss it up on Nostr build, copy that link, go over and make the note on Pablo's little app right there, schedule the time, hit go grab a next meme, and just rotate through them. Yeah, it really was not hard at all.
Right, because my biggest problem, I don't know, like, and I'm sure Intuitive Guy in the audience also has this big problem with this too, is that we make so many fucking memes that we don't have enough time to meme and zap at the same during that same half-hour window.
Right. That's
And
what
so,
I
like,
was saying
if I
too.
could
I
like
was like, because
pre-populate,
I have
I
to.
could like, dude, I could
Yeah,
probably
I have
like
to.
I could post a meme once every 20 seconds for that half-hour time frame. Keep the
I
Zapathon like
know.
healthy and refreshed and always gotten packed content going, right? And be able to zap the entire time without having to worry about getting
Right.
the
You're
content up there.
constantly contributing, constantly adding something for new people to come find and zap, and then you can focus on just zapping because that's was my biggest thing. I was like, I want to just sit here and empty my damn zap wallet. I want to go through and hit as many as I can, but I can't do that while posting too. And I don't want to be one of those guys that just posts and doesn't zap, or the other way
Right.
around. You know?
You want to be selfish, right? You want to give back what you put in, right?
Right.
That's totally the problem, right?
Exactly.
I had
So
to
yeah,
sleep.
that it's just like answering the whole thing. I'm totally setting it up for tomorrow too. I'm going to sit here tonight and I'm gonna pre-schedule tomorrow's Zapathon and have it all ready to go.
Today I had also the problem of doing the nest, so it was really, really difficult, but I was able to do like 80 zaps, changing the music and also send someone,
Yes,
but I never changed
that's
my GIF.
right. Because
Mine was also the same.
you started your nest during the Zapathon. I saw your post and I was like, oh, I don't
Yeah,
have the connection to do both right now.
yeah. The shame is that I cannot read any of what is written. I just look at the pictures and I just zap. I cannot read.
hmm
Yeah, yeah. You don't look, you just zap, right? And then you
Yep.
incorporate wallet connect into it, and then it just gets super dangerous because then you're just lightning like
Oh, it really
evenly.
does.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yep. Yep.
I was
I
trying to zap
Go ahead.
today, and freaking like every time I tried to zap, I was getting zapped back. Like Avi Burra was like hammering me. Like for like 5 minutes, he like hammered the same post, 21 sats, just
Oh,
bam, bam.
jeez.
And like it just kept coming. I'm like every time I tried to zap, like I'd try to hit the button, and like it'd be like 21 sats, bam, bam. And I'm like son of, I couldn't zap
You
because
got into a zap war.
he was
Yeah.
zap blocking me.
Yeah, Ralph also is a very dangerous guy.
Oh yeah, it was fun though. I threw the hammer back at him eventually, but it just zapped him 1,000 sats or something. But like for like 5 minutes, it felt like he just kept just zapping the shit out of me.
Seems like I've been so busy at work the past few weeks when it was Zapathon. I've only been able to hit one of the two. And yesterday I worked 11 p.m. to 3 p.m. So I worked a 16-hour shift, and I needed these 2 hours to sleep so that I could actually be awake for you guys tonight. So I had to sleep through
Actually
our
function.
Zapathon today. I did. I was
Well,
able to
see, there you
squeeze two
go.
quick memes in though.
Now you
I had to get
right. Now you
I
never.
had. But go ahead.
Sorry, no, you never have to miss at least the meme posting now
Yeah,
if
I
you
just don't.
pre-schedule them.
But I
Yeah.
want to. If I'm going to pre-schedule though, I want to make sure I'm there too, right? Because I don't want to just hog the
True.
set,
True.
right? Yeah. So it's like
Right.
when
Right.
I would just like to have it so I don't have to worry about that whole side of it, and I can just focus on the zapping and know that that I'm going to get my 100 memes or whatever out there during that half
Right.
hour.
Because if you got to roll over for a half an hour and just hit the zap button and scroll a little bit, that's a lot more doable than trying to post memes and do that at the same time. That takes mental energy.
Right, because I mean, Amethyst kind of makes it easy because you can like just hit the plus
Mm.
button, the image plus button, and then
Makes
you get
it
like
dangerously easy.
yeah, you get like you can do. It's got nostrimg.com, it's got Imgur, and it's got now it's got
Yep.
nostr.build. There's all three you can populate to without having to go to their separate site to auto populate it. And so that makes it easier,
Right.
but
Right.
uh, still it still takes time to load it up and everything, and it cycles and whatnot and fire it off. And so if it's all just
Yep.
pre-programmed, then it's just completely frictionless.
Well, that's why I said something because I didn't want to feel like I had a meme edge on anybody. I wanted to even the playing field, y'all. I'm over here cheating. This is I'm taking performance enhancing Nostr supplement. So y'all, here it is. Let me share. uh, I had to wonder too. I was like, somebody's going to be like, how the fuck is Josh posting this many memes this quick?
You are the
Well,
king
I
of
thought you were
FUD
on it,
chain for
man.
today.
I,
Right.
I didn't think negatively. I just thought you were on it.
Right. Yeah, I was posting memes on the toilet at 6 in the morning. That's what I was on, but I was on there zapping.
Actually makes it a better
I
story.
emptied. I threw out probably about twice as many zaps as I normally would. So
Oh, dude, I
but I had a blast.
I was in reciprocity, like I like people kept zapping. Like I got like hammered for
Uh
a period of time. Like people were throwing me 1,000 sats and stuff. Like Marie, she dropped like a
right.
quadruple digit on me, and I was like, I got to keep up, and I just kept hammering. Just like I was trying to like keep up with it, and at one point, like I was trying to zap, and like people were zapping me, and like it kept interrupting. It was so annoying, but it was cool because
Uh, well, the Star Wars thing made the meme super easy for the today. It's like, oh, we've got a nerd holiday. Cool. It's going to be all May the Fourth be with you shit.
I know,
I,
right?
I did make sure to build a special Star Wars meme for the day, but I had to fire it off about
There
a
you
half
go.
hour
There you go.
early because I really needed to get to bed. But
True. Well, if you want the easy button for tomorrow, it's Revenge of the Fifth, so you can still keep doing
oh,
Star
nice,
Wars stuff if you want
nice.
And Cinco de Mayo too.
I don't know. For me and Seth, those
Oh, that's right. I forgot it's Cinco de Mayo. How did I forget it's Cinco de
oh,
Mayo?
nice.
You're in
Yeah,
Texas, brother.
Oh,
They're gonna be
I
hunting,
know. I know. Dang.
chasing
Now I'm
you with
gonna need like
margaritas.
drunk Mexican. I need drunk Mexican Sith memes. How am I gonna pull that one off? Shit. All right, I got a challenge now.
it's Cinco de Zappo tomorrow.
It's gonna be like Darth Pablo.
Great, you guys are you're just adding memes to my list. I text myself every time there's a meme idea, so now I just got more memes I
There you
got to
go.
build
a
when I get
There
deep,
home
you
from
go.
work tomorrow.
deep list there.
Try to rush them in when I get. Yeah, it is a deep list. If you see how many freaking memes I pump out, like, yeah, it's crazy. I just get. I
You ever
think you
add a
keep
ton
on
of
getting
things to the
backed up
list?
and backed up and backed up. What's that?
You keep adding stuff to the list like on a late night nest, and then you go back and look another day when you're more clear headed or maybe more sober, and you go, "What the hell was I thinking when I put that on the list?"
Well, so that's the thing is I have like the subject, right? But then I also, if I like have kind of a way I want to craft it or whatever, I'll just kind of throw in keywords to that along with the text too. So
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
make sure to.
Little mental notes.
Oh, I want to make a meme about Josh zapping on the toilet or whatever. So I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
toilet zapping or whatever. Guy sitting on toilet with phone, zapping or whatever, and then I'll try to find some kind of reference material. I'll just write something out like that, right? Instead of like just being like toilet
Right.
zapping,
Right.
because if I just wrote toilet zapping, like what the fuck was I, And so I try to like put little key things that'll help me remember how I wanted to craft that meme.
Somebody's
Hey,
eventually going to
hey,
train an AI instance to make memes based on thoughts.
hey, sorry to interrupt real quick, but like Renegade, you were saying that you were able to like auto schedule it. Sorry, I was kind of like jumping in and out. Like where did you do that?
It's Nostr like nostrit.com.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool, thanks,
And
man.
yeah, you pull it up. You can log in with your NIP7 extension. Like if you got Alby or whatnot, just log in and yeah, you just make a note, and you can either schedule it for a time or just a couple different Bitcoin related events or whatnot. And you go to the bottom and you hit like sign the event, and it gives you like a little page after that that you can save if you want to go in and cancel it. But other than that, it's done. It's scheduled and ready to go.
Man,
Make sure you get your
that's
times
so
right. Check your
wonderful.
AM and PM.
Shoot off over
If
here
you
from
all
the
see a
middle of
few
the night.
things yeah, if y'all see some stuff post for me, like 4 a.m., it'd be because I forgot some AM PM shit. I'm not sure if I did or not, but there's a possibility. It could happen. I threw
I
like
was, I
30
was
memes out, so one or two might have strayed. Who knows?
I was literally thinking about like, oh man, it's so awesome if we could like schedule posts and stuff like that just the other day. So like,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
for this sort of stuff.
It's I've been wanting it
Yeah,
for so long. Because like I said, just for content creation stuff, when I do podcasts, like that right there is like the perfect use case for it. But then I looked at the calendar because I put it in my calendar on my phone, and I'm like, holy shit, it's the Zapathon today. I am so trying this scheduling thing.
and there's also like an auto zapper sort of thing. I don't know exactly. So I know there's one thing where like if someone posts on a relay, you can automatically zap if you're like hosting your own relay. So there's
You
one way
can
to do things.
set you can turn auto zaps on as a feature in the settings on Snort if you want to.
Yeah, I was
And you
about
can
to
go
say you
in.
can.
So everything on the
Yeah,
page gets zapped.
if you
Yeah.
just scroll, it
Yeah.
just zaps.
Yeah. I've not played with that, but yeah, that sounds really, really dangerous.
Right? Just automate your entire zapathon.
Yeah, that'll be
Then you can
great
actually
for
focus on
uh,
like reading the memes and seeing what's actually happening.
no
right?
reading. Reading is not
I,
allowed, my
I could
friend.
act, I can
We
I could
must just
actually
zap,
steal the
blind
meme.
zap,
I can
blind zap.
I can steal the memes. That's what it is. Yes, I like it. You're opening it up so I can steal memes. No, but see, I still like being able to throw different amounts of sats out based on the quality of the meme. I still do take the time to read the meme. I hope I always will.
Yeah, this will be great for. I like to like the day of and the day before. I create like promo posters for this little scheduled lobby session that we do on Thursdays to be able to maybe schedule a firing off a note with the promo poster on the hour
Well,
or
it's like a buddy
whatever
of
during the
mine.
day before would be nice to get people awareness. Part of the problem with Nostr now
Buddy,
is that if you don't you know, if you have a lot of followers or whatever, if someone posts something, it might get big, far down on the list like real quick, right? And so it's like if I post something and to somebody who has like 1,800 people that they're following, within 2 minutes I'm like already down like 100 places, and so you might not even see some of the content that's being fired off, right, from people,
right. Well, that's the thing. We don't have an algorithm. We don't have stuff to float to the top to show because, oh, you might like this. We are the algorithm, so timing is everything.
right? And you don't want to be
Timing
spammy,
is
right, where
crucial.
it's like you're fired,
Right. You want to
so
spread it out. You don't want to
right,
post eight things at a time, all at one point because it just gets lost in the mix. Then,
right.
well, a buddy of mine who he runs a podcast too, but he just kind of landed a gig, sort of talked himself into it, for a magazine, basically doing their promotional work for them on Nostr, like trying to convince them to actually get involved. So he's like, I'll run the account for you. And he's super psyched. He's like, dude, because this is great. He's like, I could load up a week's worth of content to just post at intervals that makes sense. So I'm not crowding the feed and spamming, but I don't have to be there in front of the computer all day long. I can just load it all up one morning and let it go and then interact with people as the magazine the rest of the time. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Right, yeah.
That's a huge boon for stuff like that. He's like, I could take on doing 2 or 3 projects like that if I can automate just that part.
Right, yeah, you just deal with the responses as it pops up in your notifications and whatnot. Yeah, no, I like it. This is great, man. Pablo, fucking A. This guy, it's crazy.
Pablo, every time it's Pablo. He's bringing us the stuff that we need before we knew we needed it.
Right, I don't even know where he comes at. Like, it just seems like he wakes up in the morning. He's just got like just a head full of ideas on things he wants to do. And I never even thought of some of the stuff that he tries to implement. It's crazy.
And then he makes it so fast. The guy's got to
Right.
like have at least 1 or 2 new projects a week. It's crazy. He's just releasing stuff left and right.
Maybe Pablo is an AI, but are we sure he's human? Has anyone visually confirmed that Pablo is indeed human and not an AI bot?
I don't know. I think he might have also been Cassie. It's possible that he's just everybody. Maybe we all are Pablo. Maybe Pablo is the collective.
We've never had Cassie conversation on the Bitcoin lobby. I know Seth is a big Cassie fan. Cassfish. Did we get the bottom of it? Is it Pablo who's Cassie?
I don't know. I'm just I threw out a meme about it, but I have no idea.
I think it's still a mystery.
Still a mystery. Someone
I
actually
think so.
today. I did see this today, which was hilarious. Someone actually kind of posted a picture of someone who kind of looks like Cassie, only hotter. It was like also the description was also a fake account, only a hotter Cassie or something like that. That was dying.
Hashtag hotter fake Cassie.
Yeah.
Hashtag bigger fish. I don't know. I did some reverse imaging, some Google like reverse image stuff, and it brought me up someone that looks a lot like her. I don't know if it's actually her, but if it is the same person, then the Cassie photo would have been like a younger college photo of somebody that's a little older and married and very successful in their business now. So who knows? Who knows? It could just be AI generated too.
I don't know. She's a bot. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know that she's a bot.
Well,
I'm
not a
leaning
bot,
more on
but
the
a
idea
fake
of,
account. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, she's definitely a fake account. But I think I think she's a developer with a sense of humor who's having some fun with it, because she knew way too much about how to do all the right shit when she got on the Nostr to get her stuff seen. And
Exactly.
I mean, let's be honest, I've never seen anybody land on the front of the Nostr that quick. So whoever it is knows the right people to get the right follows right off the bat. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but
she
I'm
had
having
already
fun
had
with it. Everybody's kind of.
the meme lords meming her like day one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, she made too many good notes, like with the perfect words in the perfect time.
Uh-huh. Oh yes. Yeah. It's like who shows up and within 2 days are already like talking from like an educated standpoint, like they really understand what's going on about the whole Only Zaps controversy. Nobody, you didn't know anything about that unless you were here for it.
Yeah,
You don't
she
show up
was
four
talking
days
like
after the dust is settled and understand what the Only Zaps controversy was. No, whoever it was there and was deep into the topic.
Right, it's kind of like government, right? Like they think they're smarter than you and they can hide shit from you, but eventually they kind of leak stuff out that you kind of like, It's the same deal there, right? Like, yeah, if you've been following along her account, which I don't, so I know nothing about her. I made a Castfish meme that I thought was funny, but I've not followed in any of this, uh, and so I really don't have no clue. But there'll be some tells, I'm sure, that people, you can see that this is a fake account over time because people are just inherently go too far with something and they let things slip that they don't intend to slip. So just
I've
I mean,
human
I think
I've
part
nature.
of it too was like,
trolled enough in my day. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, that's all right. I mean, I don't think they were like. I mean, it was so silly, right? And they weren't. I don't think they were like completely trying to hide it. Like, I think they were trying to drop hints that it's someone here. And I have a feeling that it was some sort of developer because it sort of kicked off the whole like for a while, right? Like there was like a whole conversation about like the identity, the NIP5s, if it was getting good or not. Like I know Jack had taken off his NIP5, and so like this whole like, oh, you can just create a personality and then sort of like dupe everybody. I think it sort of like led into the whole conversation of it because then wasn't there like the whole thing about like someone impersonating Will or something for a little while? Yeah. And I mean, it was like all good and everything, but like that had happened. And I don't know. So I think it was like, could have been, some of the start of conversation as well,
every platform, every place has had that happen at some point. That you get fake accounts, and the thing of it is you can't prevent it. If somebody's resourceful enough, they'll do it. I mean, I went through my phase of being an internet troll and having to and playing fake accounts and stuff like that too. I mean, for a long time, my little mantra to everybody on Facebook was, "You can ban me, but you can't ban all of me." You know, uh, so yeah. I mean, I've had my fun with it. I can tell you, I can smell a fake account a mile away, and it's a fake account.
Yeah,
But
I'm with
it
you.
is what it is. I think as long as it's in good fun and it's done in taste, and they're not actually out there trying to like con people and take their money, which people will. And guess what? There's nothing we can do about it. People just have to be smart and learn to not trust random people on the internet. We were all told that as children, but guess what? Here we are having this discussion. Um, it is what it is. These things are going to happen no matter what you do to prevent it. You can't censor people because people will find a way around censorship. They will find the loopholes, and they will do this.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Renegade. Younger years of my life, internet trolling and all that stuff, and having coursing around and jacking off on the internet. And now, kind of like maybe I'm just getting older and more crotchety. I'm more just like cut the BS, cut the
Yeah,
noise. I'm more
right.
signal focused,
Like
right? Like, I'd rather have these
I don't
conversations.
care to do it. Right. I don't care to do
Yeah,
it anymore
right.
and everything like that. But I can tell you right now, if you motivate me, if you fuck me over and you motivate me enough, I'm very good at it.
I would say me
I
too,
will
man.
find you, and
Don't
I
fucking
will
poke the
troll the
bear,
fuck out
dude.
of you.
Yeah, don't poke the bear.
Right,
That's all I'm saying.
but if you don't fuck with me, then you got nothing to worry about.
Right.
Just one of those. If you do fuck with me, I will find you and I will win, because I won't stop until I do. That's my mentality. But you know what? I've gotten old enough that I don't care about that anymore. I got nothing to
Yeah.
prove. I'm just here to
Y'all,
actually enjoy it and spend the time with good people. So if somebody wants to go around and play, that's fine. Just don't be a dick about it.
y'all are lucky I laid my troll game to rest a long time ago. No,
I'll
I don't
just
know.
keep the meme chops. I'll just keep the meme chops. That's the rest of it can be retired. It's like the old it's the John Wick thing. You put that away in a box and you bury it under the floorboards. But if you ever need it, it's there.
Yeah, ultimately, like at the end of the day, it's like people are focused on and you know enjoying something or whatever. It's all good. I don't care. Like it might not be something I'm into or whatever, but if people are having a good time and staying engaged and staying active on Nostr, and that's mainly what came out of it, then that's fine. Whatever. I just kind of I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of these like things that kind of like sprout up every now and then with Nostr, like the click type things. I'm just kind of like on the outside of them, looking in, just like, it's cool. Whatever. You guys are having a good time. That's
Man,
fine.
I'll tell
I'm
you
not
what.
interested.
If if Facebook is good for anything, it's for reminding you of the dumb shit you did 10 years ago with the old memories bullshit. So I'll look back sometimes at the crap I used to do online, or the stupid little social battles I'd be involved in, thought was important at the time, and I'm like, wow, I don't give a shit about that anymore. I should have smoked a lot more weed back then. I really should have.
No, you know what? One of the cool things I noticed that, like, Fiend, you were talking about, like, there's like the cool thing about Nostr is like there's a whole group of people doing their own thing. It's like a giant playground, right? And like you got a group of kids over there like goofing off, with the memes and doing all the Cassie stuff and like and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got like I feel like most of us are a little bit older in this crowd right now. You got the old guys sitting around the table just like talking and chatting and like you know talking, more serious sort of stuff. And you got those kids like roughhousing running
Back in
around and
my day,
everything.
I had to code my own MySpace HTML. Both
Exactly.
ways uphill.
No,
Well,
we're
it's
old,
cool
but
because you can all
hey,
kind of get
maybe
along.
we can still have fun. We're old. We're still having fun, right?
We just don't have to be as stupid to have fun. That's the difference. We
Right.
learned what actual fun is, and it's not have to be retarded the whole time.
Right. Exactly. More
Yeah,
focus.
it's all good. I I captured a fellow Facebooker I put some Nostr knowledge out there, and somebody thanked me for sharing that. It's a win. Take
Everyone
the
needs wins, right? Like that's the thing
take
is
the
like,
small victories, right?
yeah, if we all get a few wins a year, like this network and this protocol, Bitcoin and Nostr, it grows exponentially.
What
'Cause, like words and
nobody said
information
it
can
was going to
spread
be
like a
easy, right?
virus. You tell one person, and then maybe that one person tells three other people, and then those three people tell three other people, and it just grows, right? It expands exponentially over time. And this is how it's got to be done because it's certainly not going to be advanced. Any of these narratives are going to be advanced by the existing legacy institutions and media networks and governments. They don't want this stuff. They don't want
Do we have
freedom of
quotas, or
information.
is there like a nip for that? Is there a nip for the quotas, like how many people we have to onboard a year? Because I want to make sure. I think I'm good for a couple years, but I'm gonna keep going.
The more the merrier, man. There's no quota. Just, I don't know. If you're passionate about it, share it
I'm being a
because,
smart ass. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
No, I know, man. The more the merrier.
badges for
The
adoption.
more like solid people, the more actual people who want to be here. That's
right.
the thing. I don't care if your goofy little Instagram girl shows up or not. I want the real people who are looking to converse and add to a platform. And we talked about this, I think, before, maybe like a week ago, how it reminds us a lot of like the old MySpace days and shit like that, because it was, just people were more involved. People actually had some stake put into it. People had to put some work into it, and people miss that, I think. And it's like Nostr scratches an itch that we've not had a way to kind of fulfill that side of being able to really personalize your experience on the internet and for social media. You kind of get it handed to you, and this is what you get. Here's the rules you got to play by, and that's not how it always used to be. And I think a lot of us look back fondly on the days when we would just like have to actually try. There was a challenge. It felt kind of cool to like be on the internet and in this little chat group over here, because you had to know somebody to get in there. That's what Nostr feels like right now.
Yeah, I don't want to be spoon fed anything. I want to feed myself. Like that's why I'm just here hungry with my head on a swivel, looking for new signal, new information, talking to people about all this information, try to just process it all and do whatever I can to continue to try to be a part of this growing ecosystem because I don't like it when I don't like an idea of like just kind of waiting for the water to be warm and jumping over to it when everyone else is over there, right? Like I want to like lead the way and be early to things and try to see if this is a great idea, grand idea can grow and do whatever I can to kind of promote it and participate in it early on. And so I love like the things like all the bugs and stuff that we have to deal with the apps and the clients and just some of these new build outs or whatever. And I like the fact that, maybe um, it's more focused, like more of a builder's mindset right now, at least early on, that like we can talk about how to build out the ecosystem, and it's not just like a general conversation about everything and anything. And I know we need to get there at some point, and it's good to grow that. But like, at least as far as me personally, like I like being in like this kind of like niche community with a lot of signal and very little noise. So yeah,
I like the
I'm
fact
here
that
for
even
all
if
of it.
you're not Yeah, I like the fact that even if you're not like hardcore into the developing, even if you're not actively the one doing the changes, your voice actually matters right now.
Right.
Your experience and what you bring to the table, your opinion actually has weight, because there's not that many more or that many people who are aware of what's actually going on that can contribute. So that's super cool. But like you said, just being early to it, it's awesome. You're here on the ground floor. You're here greeting all the new people. You're here, and you'll notice it's like it's cascades downhill. You've got these guys who are building these apps. You have guys who are talking to them as users who aren't building the apps. You've got the people they've onboarded, they're helping, and then it's just down the line. Everybody's helping everyone else and bringing in the new people to the fold. So uh, when eventually this does take off and it's a big thing, and you don't even recognize in 2-3 years what we see now, we'll be like the OGs. We'll understand the mechanisms that make it all tick.
Yeah,
So
what
it's cool to be a part of that.
what does Nostr look like in a year? I mean, we mentioned that earlier. what is it? It's going to be an evolved community.
I think this is going to eat everything that we see on the
Right.
internet right
Right.
now. Eventually, I think this is going to become the backbone that what we see now, that all the reason these different apps and platforms and ideas exist is because somebody saw a need. All this does is enable that without centralization. So it's going to become not just your Twitters and your Facebooks and stuff like that. It's going to become your map app. It's going to become your way to share recipes. It's going to become your way to microblog. It's going to become your dating apps. It's going to become your social media, like your video sharing apps. All of these things are going to kind of integrate and become a part of it, and probably way more things than haven't even really thought of. And it's just gonna split into I'm for it because it means more freedom. It means more power to the end user and more equality for the rest of us because now it's not somebody developed some closed source software and here's what you get and you get to use it. We all have a choice now. So, and I think the only thing in my mind, at least, the only thing that is a serious threat is as it grows, people losing that mentality and that energy of it needs to maintain its decentralization, maintain the power to the individual end users. And I think if anything is kind of pushed as a culture in Nostr, it needs to be maintaining that philosophy among everybody that's involved.
I couldn't agree
That
more.
said,
Like the
guys, I'm about to jump in. I'm about to go do some cooking and whatnot, so I'm going to be able to I'll be listening in the background, but I probably won't be on much vocally for a little bit. So I'll be hanging out and listening though.
All right, man.
Yeah, me
Awesome.
too,
Coming
guys.
up.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I think
I'm good.
to Renegade's point, I think people who maybe see the shiny new toy that is the blue sky and they get the invite and then they jump over there and maybe they think Nostr um, is maybe a failing idea or something like that, or it's you see with like the smaller user base or whatever. I don't think they're looking at Nostr and the grand size that maybe someone like Renegade or you Seth or me or anyone else who's on stage or even probably in the audience listening can see Nostr as being. I mean, this is like going to swallow like the majority of the internet. I think, at least how information is being transmitted and processed. Assuming that we continue to have this kind of builder's mindset and focus to growing and building up this ecosystem because it's cool because talking about how it's awesome being early on, like, and you can actually get in the ear of developers like 10 years from now, you could maybe look back at a client or some kind of app or whatever, and could be your idea. Like, even though you didn't write it to code, you could have maybe given a developer an insight or an idea to something that might have been useful, and that they end up going out and building like the next great client that everyone uses, right? But it all kind of sprouted on your idea because unless you're Pablo, sometimes these coders kind of run out of ideas, or maybe they kind of get like coder's block or whatever, or writer's block or whatever you want to say, and maybe you kind of something you said in a nest or even over your feed, and they happen to catch it, or maybe you gave a recommendation to something. Uh, could inspire them to kind of maybe reimagine or rethink how they were focusing their client build out, and so or maybe a new feature or something like that, and so who knows, and but when you have so much when it's signal focused like this community is right now versus like maybe a noise drowned out ecosystem like something like Twitter is, it's so much easier to get in the ear of the people who are building out this ecosystem in the future right now, and so you have much more of a voice, much more a better opportunity to be heard with your voice today than you would maybe even in a year from now. Seth, you imagine you try to extrapolate what's Nostr going to be a year from now. Well, maybe Vitor will be so busy, and maybe there'll be so much noise on Nostr that you'll never even be able to reach Vitor or Will again with a comment or a suggestion or whatever. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, you look at the DM bot, and that's insightful too, and you realize how many like Jack gets spammed like hardcore, and from what you can see on that, it's surprising though that it is evolving in a way. I am impressed on the way that they can filter spam out. I need to understand relays a little bit more, and I think that's something I'd like to explore more in the conversation.
Yeah, I think we should try. I
Yeah,
tried bringing Mason in from Nostr Wine a couple weeks ago. Maybe we can try to get a relay operator to, or
Yeah,
at least someone who's
yeah,
more knowledgeable. I'll try to
yeah.
find over the feed over the next week or so somebody who runs their own relay service and see if they'd be interested in trying to come on, have a conversation about it.
I think being able to run a relay is going to be pretty important to, all that we're talking about with like the development of the systems and everything like that, and especially with what Renegade was saying, how everything's going to be like it's like a communication layer on top of the internet, right? It's like a second. It's like lightning to Bitcoin, right? And you can kind of like create all this different sort of functionalities, like it's a backbone, right? And you can create so many different things out of it. That if you have a relay and you're able to run a relay, I think there's a lot that you can do, because ultimately you're like, you're hosting the network, like you're part of the network. Right now we're just users in the network, being clients. But it's like starting a node. It's like mining, right? If you really want to get involved in Bitcoin, you have to like do one of those things, right, to really fully understand it. In the same way, I think with Nostr, like you have to. I think if you're able to run a relay and figure out how to do it, the ins and outs of it, then like the creativity sort of like opens the door for a lot of cool new stuff, right? Because we're sitting here thinking about what could be, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And so once you start a relay, then you're kind of like in the thick of it, and new ideas are going to pop up, and I think it could change the course of where things go.
Yeah, incentives matter. They're important, and people are guided by incentives, and we have to certainly keep that front of mind.
Well, I'm curious too with like the relays, like the cost, the barrier to entry, the cost of having to run,
Well, I
being
think
able to run a relay, the hardware costs,
we're figuring all that out too. Yeah,
yeah.
that's all discovery.
I think over time, as that kind of stuff becomes cheaper and more and faster, and can handle more of a load. I think people can start to think about running more sovereign computing out of their own homes and not have to have like super specialized hardware and technical ability to be able to do so. And so I think
Yeah,
once I think Nostr will kind of incentivize those kinds of hardware build outs and software build outs as well, to where it will be easy for the average Joe to be able to run their own relay and still have a pretty decent quality relay as well.
yeah. I mean, if you run like an Umbrel node, like it's got a function where you literally just hit install, right, and then it basically runs a personal relay for you. All it does is just like it has all the software. You don't actually set anything up. Or maybe you put in like your NIP5 or whatever, um, or you put in your like NSEC, but anyways, there isn't like a whole lot that you do to it to set it up more than a couple minutes, and it basically backs up all your stuff, right? But it's not
Right.
that much more of a step to think like, oh, like a fully featured node, right? But something that has a UI attached to it. And I think once you have like a good easy to use UI, like Ride the Lightning or Thunder Hub, but for relays, then I think that's when like a whole lot of people are really going to get on board.
And then at that point, your only limitations like your bandwidth and your storage capabilities and like the hardware stuff, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
agree.
obviously, like there's going to be like a tech, a minimum requirements, but I can't imagine that it's that crazy, because I ran my own personal one, or like I'm running my own personal one, and like there's absolutely zero you know impact to my network anything, right? If you think about it, there's really two things, right? You've got your hardware, like storage, and then you have your like bandwidth, which is like the connectivity to the outside, right? And so the storage is just whatever gets put on there, but you can control the size of stuff that's stored. So if you think about like, oh, how many posts when you're going through, right, the ones where there's just text, like, aren't going to be a massive size.
Right.
But like, think about like how, saving a text file, how big that is, right? But if you look at the pictures and then you kind of like extrapolate, well, how many every other post is a picture or whatever, then you can kind of get a decent sense of how many like how much storage you're going to need, right, over, and how long that'll last you. And then from there you look at the bandwidth, and that part I don't really know, but it would just depend on how many people are on your relay, I would think. And if you can like get measurements for how much bandwidth you personally use, then multiply that, because you're going to know who's on your relay. Multiply that by how many people on your relay, and then you kind of have a good idea of your bandwidth. So I think like it all sort of scales, right? So the more people you have connected to your relay, and you can control who's on your relay. So you can create like a very small relay with only a couple people, and it probably wouldn't take more than your existing computer. You probably even, I don't know, maybe do on a phone, I don't know. But if you're trying to run like a big global relay, then you probably need more resources. But I think it's going to be something that's accessible for anyone, as long as we have the right UI attached to it.
I agree.
I'll throw out real quick. I was just kind of listening in, had a couple minutes, but one of the things that needs to happen at some point is Umbrel needs to get the latest version of LN Bits integrated. That's been frustrating for those guys. But LN Bits, I haven't played with it much, but they've actually got a full scale relay implementation as an extension that looks to be pretty user friendly, and it's got way more features than the one that's on Umbrel. So and LN Bits has a ton of other like super user friendly things that you can do, like selling lightning freaking addresses and NIP5s and stuff from your own domains and stuff like that. It's actually really slick, but we don't have access to all those yet because they haven't updated it all. But I think it's coming. So it's not long. We're not far from being able to just spin up your own relay with a couple of clicks.
Well, we need to get to that point where we have a plug and play system, something that's easy for the general user to integrate these applications.
Yeah, I think we also need like a full suite of tools too, like being able to host image or video and audio would be key as well.
Yeah, it's huge.
Having some kind of decentralized means to be able to host, kind of like what we were talking about with like PeerTube with the same cat, the other guy. So we don't have to put the entire burden of the entire weight of the band load or bandwidth on our shoulders, and you can kind of like sparse that out or disperse that out and make it easier to be able to host content or stream content or host video or audio. That's another area that I think is going to need to be built out on Nostr more. But yeah, I mean, I could just imagine that we would just have kind of like our own Umbrel like operating system that would just be dedicated to kind of like Nostr at some point, or maybe Umbrel would just grow to like be like half Bitcoin and half Nostr, and so you just have like a whole operating system dedicated to those two things.
Yeah, maybe they'll come out with Ulmster.
Yeah.
Hashtag Nodester, man.
Oh, I like that. But yeah,
It is
I
fun.
think the other piece of it too, though, also, that things kind of have to happen a little bit in lockstep, because if for Umbrel to want to focus their efforts and create the whole node in a box, or sorry, relay in a box sort of application, UI, whatever, like it's going to need to be like the things are going to need to be like decided. And what I mean is, like, right now, with all the NIPs that are going through, things are changing so fast that, like, if you build something big, like tomorrow it's going to get broken because someone decided to implement something different, right? And so, like, at some point that's going to level off and it's going to slow down and things are going to sort of get solidified, right? The certain like game breaking decisions will have all been made at that point. And once that sort of happens, then there'll be that the cost benefit sort of thing will tip the right way, where okay, these bigger companies or whatever can go in and build out all the stuff, all the user friendly sort of UI things. And so like until that happens, I don't think you're going to get like a full fledged product. But I think what'll ultimately happen is you're going to see, these products that like Pablo's building, right, where it does all the little things, but all kind of on its own. Those will start getting built out, built out, because if something breaks, it might not break that one specific thing. So like your risk is a lot lower. And eventually, and it's a lot, and if it does break it, you don't have to start over with the whole thing. You just kind of create, fix that one little bit of it. So I think like that sort of thing is going to happen a lot more until things start to solidify, and then someone's going to come through and say, okay, there's all these different little applications out there. Let's like put it under one roof, right? And I think that's something that like Satoshi Puzzles was actually trying to do, in like kind of similar way, where if you're trying to onboard someone new, like when you think about when you first started to get to like set up your account to where you are now, you got to go through like all these different things, get your NIP5 set up, you got to get your lightning set up, and you got to set up all your relays. So the whole idea, I think, of having all these separate tasks that are in disassociated places, like a consolidation of all that into one sort of simple in a box solution, will happen, but it'll just be one of those things where it sort of happens in stair step.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about making it simple for the normies. Otherwise, it's just never, the adoption is just never going to get to that point if you can't make it at
It's go-
least
yeah, it's
simple
gonna
enough.
happen. It's gonna take time. We just have to be patient. It's hard to be in this position because we have to acknowledge that you do have that normie crowd out there that is following their own path, and then there's the I think like we're the welcome committee for a lot of people who are new to Bitcoin and Nostr, and just got to be able to be positioned in a place where we can embrace them and you know uh, understand that they've gone through the fiat challenges that exist, and it's going to take some time, but it's patience and humility are going to be the kind of key factors, and it's going to take a little bit of time to build this all out. It just have to be patient.
Yeah, it's easier to be part of the welcoming committee too when you have tools that make it simple to demonstrate to new users, right? Like, a lot of people, we always have that conversation about Wallet to Satoshi, right? But it's like something I could literally go onto a job site, a construction job I'm on, and talk to a plumber and be like, hey, go on your app store, download this wallet. Okay, I'll go here on the app and show me your lightning address. Okay, I'm going to take that address and I'm going to put this on Nostr and I'm going to display it. And all of a sudden, you're going to get a bunch of vibrations in your pocket because you're getting Bitcoin zapped to you. And like, that is like that's a presentable way of being part of the welcoming committee, to be able to present people a new idea in such a simple manner that they're used to and comfortable with, that isn't technical at all, right? Because all you're doing is basically like showing them what something that looks like an email address on an app that they know how to download because they've already downloaded Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all these other ones, and so it's simple to do that. And then you just, okay, let me copy your email address, quote unquote, aka your Lightning address, and now I'm going to go over to something that looks like Twitter, and I'm going to post it on there. And then all of a sudden, randomly around the world, your phone's just going to start buzzing because people are just going to start sending you Bitcoin instantly and without, frictionlessly. And so it's like, that's how, that's how it's made easier for people that are part of the quote unquote welcoming committee, is to get those tools that are easy to on ramp. And then once you get them inside the ecosystem and talking, then you can start to extrapolate on bigger ideas like self custody and hardware wallets, and running relays on Nostr, and those kinds of things. But you got to start at ground zero with these things, and you can't just really start at hey, why don't you run your own relay? Like, just go do it. Just figure it out. Go spend 20 hours of research on the internet and figure it out, man. What do you mean you can't figure it out? What are you, an idiot? Like, they're just gonna give up, right? And so to have those tools to kind of onboard people easily and in a way that they're comfortable in receiving, and don't feel like an idiot and don't get discouraged, and kind of maybe have a light bulb moment that kind of ticks off in their brain is extremely important. And so I just expect that to happen. Just like Bitcoin is starting to, click with people, normies, and we have the tools like Wallet of Satoshi and those kinds of things where you can give people their light bulb moments without making it super complicated. I think that the same thing is gonna extend over to Nostr as well in due
Oh,
time.
no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a natural product development cycle, right? And then like there's a natural adoption cycle for like all things. You look at like how cell phones, were adopted, and any piece of technology like computers, right? Like it always starts out like with the super technical people willing to deal with it, willing to tinker and like mess around. Um, but it's not going to be for like most of the normies, right? And so it'll definitely get there, because as long as there's utility and it's actually truly useful, it's naturally useful and helps, then it'll happen. It's just a matter of time, and getting the tools available, perfecting the tools, with people like us who are tinkerers and like messing around with stuff, before, someone like my wife who absolutely does not like doing that sort of stuff, she wants it to just pick it up and it works, right? So for someone like her to adopt it, like, it's going to be a process, and you don't want to onboard people too early. I know actually one of the things that's, Satoshi had said, um, about Bitcoin was he was like, he didn't want it to get popular. I think there was the whole WikiLeaks, I think, wanted to integrate Bitcoin. And he was like, no, don't do it because it's too early, right? If you have all the normies come and try it out and then realize it's not ready for them, then they're gone forever, right? You kind of you lose them forever as soon as they walk out the door. So, so that's like the other piece of it too, is like, careful what you wish for. You don't want everybody streaming over at once. Like you saw, I don't know if you guys saw recently, um, there was like, someone had put out a chart about like how many people were average users or posts or whatever, and then like it absolutely dropped after like 420. Right before that, like 420 time, that was when the whole like Elon Musk Twitter debacle was happening, right? Like where he introduced, the fee. I think that's what it was. It was like a fee for the check mark or something like that. But, or it was, I don't know, whatever it was. But it drove a lot of people off of Twitter, right? And then it drove everyone over to Nostr. Um, but then, like, truth be told, like, Nostr is just not ready yet for everyone. Um, so a lot of people left. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing right now, where like the numbers dropped off precipitously. Um, because a lot of people realized, oh, it's not quite ready for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that, right? Like, we're in building time, and so this is just early, and you just got to expect that these adoption waves are going to come in and come and go like a roller coaster. And all I know for sure is that since these legacy social media companies don't have the incentives that align with users the way that Nostr does, that eventually they're going to screw up their narratives, and they're going to screw up with their users over time, whether it's through increased censorship or further alliances with governments that they only want to convey a certain narrative, or doing things like Elon's been doing with like kicking people off their check marks or charging for check marks or all these other, removing the API, free API that people were able to tap into. All these other kind of things that have been pissing off users of Twitter in the months since he's um, run the company, and even going before Elon, to not put everything on Elon. Like, the company was kind of a train wreck and a dumpster fire well before Elon, so it was not all his fault. He kind of inherited a mess to begin with, and so I think that's just that's just going to continue, right? Like, those negative incentives are just going to continue to steer people away and look for alternatives, and Nasser's just got to be just got to get to a point to where it can be a viable alternative for people that don't want to do the building part and the tinkering part and the having to learn all these new complicated things part, and everything just needs to be a push button, spoon fed to you like type of experience. And so once we get there, and then let the legacy social media networks do what they're going to do, which is screw people over, and eventually they're, people are just going to come here naturally.
Yeah, I think the plug and play options are going to be huge.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that'll also probably come with a little bit extra centralization risk too. You start getting
Oh
some of
yeah.
these big relay operators start to grow really big. That could be a centralizing force. The whole controversy with NIP 95 was that putting data onto a relay uh, kind of makes it harder for the small fry to be able to run a relay, because putting text is a small, tiny fraction of data compared to an image. And then if you start extrapolating that into like MP3s and MP4s and, video and audio and that kind of stuff, then it becomes even bigger burden of the relay operator to carry when they're running that service. And so it might get to the point where there's just so much data going onto these relays that they have to be, a bigger, more centrally operated like data server service. And so that's centralizing as well potentially. But
Yeah, there was a one of the interesting things I was kind of thinking about, and there was like a conversation about this. So what you were talking about with some of the smaller relays not being able to handle it, and then ultimately it's going to be like you're going to have a bunch of big relays, and so like what I was kind of thinking, when you think about it's just storage space, so you've got like hard drives, right? And when you have hard drives, you can put them in a RAID, and so I know originally like Nostr is meant to be like, the relays don't necessarily talk to each other, but now we have like wine.filter, right? And, or filter.wine or whatever it is, right? Where I think they basically, it's like a relay for relays. So when you start to think about it, like that's not too asimilar from like when you put a bunch of hard drives in RAID. So like what you could potentially do is like if you have these sort of like RAID relays, which they don't actually talk to clients, they only talk to other relays, and you can like connect, I don't know, let's call like 10 relays to one of those guys. But then, and then, and a client connects through to that as a group, right? So rather than connecting 10 like small relays individually, maybe you connect to some other relay which pulls from the RAID relay, as like a singular sort of entity. So it looks like a single entity, so it's easy for the user, but in reality, it's spread out. So that's kind of solves the whole centralization issue alongside um, the size issue.
how do you get around people putting data on your relay, I guess, if you're trying to run it as a service without bulking up the size?
Well, because you'd be spreading it out, right? So normally,
Spread
if
out the
there was
data
like,
and you just like kick off the data onto other relays, and there'd be like a community of relays that would kind of all
yeah,
be
exactly.
umbrella.
Exactly. So like rather than keeping 10 copies of one image, there's some sort of organizer. And I guess that does sort of centralize it a little bit, but there maybe like everyone can run the organizing software, right? But it essentially kind of talks to all the other ones and says, hey, like I've got a copy of this, like you're good to delete it,
But
or something like
what
that.
happens if a relay goes down in that raid, when you lose like,
Well, I mean,
you say
so
you
so
have
you
like
have
nine tenths of the image, right? But you don't have the full image. Would that display
Well, so
properly?
so that's just the whole concept of RAID, where like there's a certain degree of redundancy, right? And so you can have different versions of RAID where maybe you have like two copies of a single thing at any one time. That way, the chances of both of those going down, are a lot lower than just one of them. Or you can like split it up. I don't remember. There's like a whole bunch of different like RAID configurations and like ways to do it. But I would think if you treat the relays as like a hard drive, like a physical hard drive, and if you look at some of the different ways of doing RAID, like a lot of these issues they're not like solved, right? So it's not like 100% foolproof, but the more, um, the more sort of like redundancy that you put into it, the safer you become, right? Um, so they have, those sort of strategies exist.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I was kind of looking at it more towards like BitTorrent or something like that, where everyone's got like kind of a little piece of something, whereas you could just maybe just have two two of the 10 relays have an image, and one of them serves as a backup, right? So if one of them goes down, then the other one still has that backup, right? And it's not just a an image split into 10 different relays. Yeah, it makes sense. I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and then it
I
just
like
kind of
the idea of
acts as like a load
everybody,
balancer. Oh, go ahead.
right. I like the idea of what we kind of touched on, I think probably last week a little bit, um, of essentially every client could become sort of a lightweight relay on in its own, running on the back end, maybe even on your device. It's just like a part of the whole Nostr experience, and we integrate the idea, the old school Tor, not Tor, I mean BitTorrent technology. So like those files are there, they're distributed. Maybe they are broken in pieces, but we all have pieces of that. So it's not so much a burden on the relay. That burden is distributed throughout the entire network, and then you can't ever eliminate that file or that piece of data completely, because while maybe I only have 10% of it, that the identical 10% that I have exists on 10,000 other micro nodes throughout the ecosystem. So it could always be assembled with the right data set.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. Like you just,
I like that
yeah, if it's
idea.
integrated in every client, right? Because like think about like how many clients are out there, right? And they're all on running on obviously some sort of storage device. So, and they're all network connected. So like, why not, right? And if you, so it's not even about like the number of users. It's really about the number of clients users are using, which is
I mean,
significantly more.
I already have to have room on my device for my files and all of the files that my client receives, right? Everything that I download on Nostr that I see, for me to visually see it, my device had to download it. So I've already got space for all of that going on there right now. It's all in my cache, just none of it's getting used. So if we can switch that to be utilizing the space that we're already using to be a part of a distributed storage network, and we are all participating in that, I mean, it's not so much that this is beyond their capabilities, is that we're trying to solve a problem a whole different way.
Yeah, I like it. And like, and it's proven, right? It's a proven method. Like it's worked for BitTorrent. It works for hard drives, like when servers and stuff like this is, it's not, well, it's obviously a new application, but like it's nothing new, right?
I mean, they've tried to shut down BitTorrent for shit damn near as long as I've been on the internet, which has been a long ass time since like the 90s. So they still, I mean, you can still go download torrents. They can't do jack shit about it. Oh, the ISPs have tried, the government's tried. They can't kill it because it's technology. So it's proven.
Yeah, the only issue with that is that Apple bans it from their store. I don't think you can build out apps with a BitTorrent in it.
Yeah, and Google Play tries to ban stuff from their store and everything too. I mean, come on, they're gonna probably eventually try to ban all the Nostr apps too. But
Right.
we have other ways around it. You know, we can F-Droid, we can just download an APK. You know, there will always be a way around it. The establishment isn't going to like this shit, no matter how you slice it. That's just
Right.
that's just part of it. So the fact is that we give ourselves the capability to have the workaround, because we will need the workarounds eventually. You know, don't build yourself into a box where you're reliant on a system that they can attack, because that's the problem. The more we centralize, and I like the idea of servers spreading the load and sharing it, that's great. It's better than what we're doing now, but that still leaves a limited number of legs to knock out from under the table. You know, even if all of our data lives on 100 relays, 100 relays isn't 10,000 users. You know,
Yeah, it's still going to be important to kind of get rid of some of these existing pinch points, such as like their mobile phones, and building out like decentralized open source mobile operating systems and stuff like that that people can turn to for alternatives. Because yeah, you're right, they are going to fight us with this technology as soon as it gets big enough for them to care about. Right now, it's just kind of like a pimple on an elephant's butt, right? But like if people are using this
oh
at
yeah,
the numbers that people are using Twitter or Facebook or some of these other legacy, and we actually start to threaten their market share, I can
I mean,
guarantee.
Google, Apple, none of them want this. You know, it's
Right,
not good for them for this to take off. It's just, yeah, like you said, right now it's not worth their resources.
right.
But once they figure out that it is, you know, once Microsoft gets their teeth into it, they've got some sway. They'll find ways to try to make it hard. But you know, if people want this, it'll be here. So I think we're really lucky that right now everybody who's here who wants to be here has kind of a tinkering mindset, actually wants to solve problems, wants to be part of something like this. So that's a huge startup advantage, but it won't always be that way. And if we're looking forward, we kind of got to plan for the idea that it's going to get hard at some point.
Well, in that regard too, it's also kind of nice that Blue Sky is kind of like taking this like uh, adjacent position in the decentralized social media realm, because they have more of like a centrally focused team that's clearly, building up the client and whatnot, and maybe the regulators would put their focus on, maybe trying to stop that and shut it down first, while Nostr can continue to grow out and build resiliency against these kinds of central attacks. Kind of like the way shitcoins are like the low hanging fruit that regulars get to go after, while Bitcoin continues to build itself out and its resiliency and decentralization. So just maybe like it's like a distraction.
Yeah,
Trojan
and I think it
horse.
gives it gives like a lot of people just enough of a taste of like how it could be better. But then you kind of look at how it operates and a lot of things that's happening, and then it's like, oh, it's just more of the same shit, right? So eventually, so it kind of like assuages the general population for a little while, and it gives them a little bit of education while they're kind of sat there and knowing that like that's gonna fail again, because they're doing too many of the same things that the old guard did. So it's not going to fix things. But it gives Nostr time to build correctly and become more robust and and put up defenses and all that.
As long as humans are around, we're always going to have a tug of war between centralizing forces and decentralizing forces. This has happened well before Bitcoin, well before even the birth of our nation was a decentralizing event, right? Like basically we fought the Revolutionary War to get under central control of a monarch and to spread out the powers from federal to state to local to the Supreme Court and all of our checks and balances that they designed into the Constitution and into the structure of this government to act as a decentralizing force, because they understood that if when power gets centrally controlled, it gets corrupted and it gets abused. And so, like, we're just having that fight right now. We've had it for the last 14 years with Bitcoin, and now we've just started year one of this fight with Nostr, and that it's going to be we're going to have to continue to fight these centralizing forces and try to create more and more resiliency to be able to effectively defeat. And so that's gonna, 10 years from now, it might be something brand new that we dream up and dream of, and that's kind of like what I'm here for, right? I feel like we're in like the 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 front lines of the battle between centralization and decentralization. I think it all starts like here on the internet with information and obviously money as well. And so I just feel like we're fighting
We're
like the most
so
important
early.
battles. Yeah, I feel like we're just fighting the most important battles of the world right now, and literally nobody knows about it. Or like 1% of the population might know about it, right? Like, but I really feel like we're fighting like these super crazy important battles for like the future of humanity.
What's really crazy is I think if we look back at history, like honestly, from like perspective of somebody who lived during some of these really pivotal times, all of the folks who actually fought those battles, who were fighting those battles that changed the world as we knew it, and they were fighting for very noble things that needed to happen. Most of the time, nobody who was living at that time had a clue about it until it was all over and done with. These
Right.
people were fighting the fight of their lives, and nobody knew about it. And guess what? They've got memorials for them now, but nobody knew their name then. So
Right. It's like the artist who was a poor artist their entire life and got discovered after they died, right? And now their paintings and whatnot are selling for millions and millions of dollars when they were basically just a peasant throughout their lives. Yeah, I agree. It's a thankless job, I guess, but it's good. I don't need credit. I don't need awards, and I don't need acclaim and everything that goes along with uh, being in these front lines and doing something that might be monumental to shift the direction of humanity. So it's all good. I enjoy it.
Nope. I'd just like to see the world be a little bit better before I die. That's
Yeah,
all. I'd like to see
good
it. I'd
man.
like to
Right.
go out with it being in a better place than I got here. And if that's all I ever accomplish or am a part of, I'll be happy. But I don't really get a choice in it either. So I get to do the best I can.
Well, like literally every parent in the world wants to leave their kids with a better life than they had, and but a lot of people today are too afraid to actually stand up and create that better world, and so they just kind of resort to what they're told and have to do, and then as a result, their kids don't get a better life, and it's because of their fear and their don't want to rock the boat or risk, upsetting the masters and whatnot, and so they don't end up giving a better life off to their kids because of complacency and fear, and so I'm just never going to be that person. And so
Well, this reminds me of the other day, a buddy of mine. He does these deep like philosophical questions every morning as part of his podcast, like over coffee. And he had asked a question the night before, and we were kind of discussing it. And he had asked, "What's the best advice that somebody's ever given you?" Kind of thing, basically. And I think the one I came up with was 'cause I had to think back really hard on it. Like, what is some of the best advice that actually impacted my life that somebody gave me? And it was basically if you work a job that you can't stand, if you're not happy or fulfilled in the thing that you do, you're going to be miserable, and it's your own fault because nobody can change it but you. And it's kind of the same thing. It's the whole world. If the world isn't the way that we want it to be, yeah, we only have so much limited control and so much limited influence. But if you don't change the things that you can change and have some influence on, or at least make steps towards making it better, it's still your fault that things stay the way they are.
yeah, to circle back on to Jeff Booth, who we kind of touched upon earlier in our broadcast here. A lot of times he says, be the change you want to see in the world, or live the change you want to see in the world. And so that's really the only way you can do it is to actually implement the things you want to see, whether or not it's mainstream or it's a wholly adopted or whatever. Or you're taking a bigger risk by maybe rocking the boat a little, but you're never going to get to that point unless you actually do it and live it and feel it and breathe it, and you know. So
Word. What's up, Island? You've been hanging out in the background.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to finalize some Miami like parties, like figuring out what the hell am I gonna do. I know there's a toxic happy hour one. I gotta get tickets for. So yeah, just trying to do all that. What's up, everybody? How's everybody
hey,
doing?
must be nice, man. I wish I could finalize some Miami Beach parties.
I mean, I got lucky. CK hooked me up with tickets, so it's not gonna be too big of a burden. But yeah, like it'd be nice just to be. This is my first conference, dude. I've been in Bitcoin since last month was my 10-year anniversary, and like I've never been to a big conference before, so it's gonna be interesting.
That's awesome, man.
Something to do. Just got back from Mexico. There was a conference there in Merida. That was for a week. That's why I was kind of missing off of Nostr. But um, yeah, I had some anxiety getting back on. There's so much to catch up with.
Oh, a
Yeah.
lot's happened in the past week in Nostr world.
Yeah, exactly. So Nostr report was a big help. That kind of gave me like the summary, but now I got to catch up with everyone individually, and I don't know. I'm hoping that there's a feature in Damus where you can kind of like have certain groups where you can scroll through and see some of the stuff that they've posted with, this goes back to the stupid thing about the only zaps. Like, at least with the reactions, you can kind of see like, what people were really digging and maybe like sort it by that. But then again, you can sort it by zaps too. So like, I don't know. Just I wish there was a way to like catch up easier. Besides just the Nostr report.
We were just talking about it earlier. There's a website called lister.lol where you can build out lists based on things that are interests of you. So I think that
Oh.
as more clients maybe kind of implement those kinds of things, you could actually maybe build out, the type of topics or subjects that you want to keep following, and maybe have it, bookmarked or whatever, and be able to catch up on those kinds of events
Oh,
that
I'm
are being
trying that
posted.
right now. That
Yeah,
looks good.
it's lastr.lol, and then you can create your own lists as well.
Nostr.band also has some additional features where you can set up you can build like search bots and build like RSS feeds based on certain hashtags and stuff. So if you have certain topics you want to follow and catch up on, that might be something to look into. I haven't played with them a lot.
Yeah, Lister looks pretty cool. Let's see how this works.
Yeah,
It's
we
kind of one
had
of those
him
things.
on the pod, or Nest, whatever you want to call it, last week, right? And yeah, he's building out a lot of stuff, like everything in Nostr. Lots of build out, lots of opportunity.
Well, and a
Is
lot of
there
it
a
too.
is there a site or anything that's got like all these different tools like kind of
No,
aggregated together? So I feel like
That
we need that. We're
that'd
at
be
the point where
nice.
there needs like a catalog, you know?
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say. It's like if Island takes a week off, he doesn't know about Lister.lol, and it's like, you know what I mean. We don't even know the tools exist that exist,
Changing too
right?
fast to keep up with. There's like
Right.
that awesome Nostr. There's a bunch of stuff that shows up over on like Bolt.fun and everything, but it's not all in one place yet because it's literally growing so fast that no one person can keep up with it. I just explained to Will earlier about Amethyst features that I have been there since I've been on Nostr, and he had no idea. He was like saying, "Yeah, if somebody makes it, I'll implement it." And I'm like, "We've always had that on Amethyst." He goes, "No, you don't understand." I'm like, "No, literally screenshot. This is exactly what we have. That is what they're asking for." And he's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah, here. It's already there. Figure it out. Go buy an Android and see what the competition is doing, and you'll be able to figure it out. I have faith in you."
Yeah. I mean, Will's a machine, but Vitor's got like 37 different contributors building out Amethyst for him, whereas I think Will's just by himself. So yeah, Amethyst is doing a lot, man. I've tried Damus in the past. I helped a buddy who had an iPhone get it set up on it. And I mean, I can't say I'm an expert on all of its features or whatever, but it's just, I kind of ran through it briefly, and it seemed to me like Amethyst was a lot further ahead in the game as far as like functionality and features. But
have we concluded NIP 95 though? I mean, that's done, right?
well, so he basically made it like optional, so like you don't have to use it. That
Yeah,
was
but
the problem initially, is that you were forced to use NIP 95 to post photos. Uh, but now there's actually a function where you can post uh, non-NIP 95, just the Imgur or nostrimg.com or nostr.build. You can actually choose one of those three providers to upload your image or your MP4 or whatever. Or you can do it through the relays through the NIP 95 if you want. And so you're given like 5 or 6 options when you click the add image button. And
Was
so
the
stuff,
NIP 95 like the issue between Amethyst not showing up on Damus, like the
yeah.
pictures?
Yeah, it's like it was like NIP 94/95, and 94 wasn't the problem. It was more like 95 is that data was being added to the relays directly. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's like kind of solved, not solved, right? So like if you do post a NIP95 image, you still have that issue. Like your Damus isn't going to be able to see it, right?
right,
And
right,
from what I understand is on the app, like it's kind of labeled like more secure or something, right? So if you post it, you
right.
post like a more secure version. That's like the 95 version. It's not going to change, but then like, the risk is that, people aren't going to see it. Whereas, but at least the option is there. And you can, you know, choose not to. And so I think it kind of puts it to rest where it's like, okay, fine. This is, for now, this is a workable solution. We can at least like move away from the drama and kind of build the next thing, and we'll come back and deal with that later,
Right. I never
Yeah,
hate
it's
it
kind of put to
when the
rest.
user's given a choice and an option. I never hate it, and so it's like one of those things. If
Yeah,
you want
no.
to use it and you don't want
I,
to connect to people on Amethyst, then use it. If you want to connect to all these clients or whatever, don't use it. And so you're given the choice, and you can choose whichever you want. I don't care. I'm just
right.
glad
I
that I
love
don't
that
have
it
to use
gives
it because I
that it
don't want to
gives you
use
the
it.
option.
I want people
Right. I
on
love that it
Damas
gives you the
in my
option.
community.
I I don't ever use it. I think the only time I ever use it is because you have to when you use his stories feature, which is fun, but it's only Amethyst users anyway. The other issue though is going to be you run into a lot of relays that are filtering it out and not going to share it. So you also kind of have to be sure that you've got relays in your list that are NIP94 and NIP95 friendly. If you do choose to use it, even if you know you're only going to be seen by other Amethyst users or maybe another client will pick it up. If your relays are not friendly to it, then it is what it is.
Yeah, it's my personal feeling and philosophy behind this is if I'm not reaching 100% of my feed or my follow list or people who are following me, then I don't want to use it because to me it just defeats the whole purpose of being on Nostr in the first place. I don't want some kind of censoring activity to be hindering my notes, right? That's kind of what it is when you think about it. Like fundamentally, it's like if I can't display my image to somebody on Damus, then that's kind of like a self censorship that I just don't want. And so it kind of exposes a problem with kind of like the JSON, just kind of the way that Noster's fundamentally set up with all the NIPs and everything, and the fact that you're given choices on which NIPs you can and can't choose is that you're going to have some kind of like interoperability issues between clients based on what the individual clients decide they want to display and what or implement and which ones they don't.
It's gonna be a
So
constant battle. I agree with you on that. You kind of want to reach the most people and not block out content. But yeah, then again, there's gonna be a lot more clients coming out. I mean, there's already a bunch, but it's just a matter of which clients are gonna go with what the people want, and that's how everything's gonna work out.
yeah, I agree. And I think, at some point, like you want to say like a term standardized or something like that. I guess that's kind of a bad term, but I think like, you know, most clients that are like, the ones that are the most popular are going to use the NIPs that are the most, that reach the most users. And, no client really wants to see, uh, no user is going to want to use a client that where their stuff's being blocked off or filtered out or not being able to display it. Otherwise, they're just going to go to a different client where they can, uh, receive the most reach because ultimately at the end of the day this is all about like the user experience, and that's what the client developers are going to gear their design of their network or their client towards, is to fulfilling, you know there's going to be a lot of competition because this is an open protocol and a lot of clients are going to be coming down the pipeline, and this is just this is early baby hiccups, so I totally agree.
Yeah. A quick question. I don't know if any of you guys would know this, but so I was helping a friend today set up one of his friends on Nostr and a wallet, and she was happened to be on Windows and Android, which I don't use. So what we came up with was just to keep her on like a custodial wallet because she's not going to be using it a lot. So like Wallet of Satoshi, hooked that up with Amethyst, and then we tied the npub nsec with get Alby so she can use the computer. But obviously she won't be able to zap from her Wallet of Satoshi. So I was thinking maybe LN Tips might be the best bet because you can tie that in with Blue Wallet and then have it on both mobile and on Windows.
No,
I don't
no,
know.
you can do
Just get
Wallet
an Alby
Connect.
wallet.
You can get he's got
Just get an
Alby
Alby wallet, and
Wallet
yeah.
Connect.
Yeah, if she's already got the extension, she just needs to sign up for an Alby account, and she'll have a non-custodial account or wallet with them.
Yep.
And she just doesn't have to use Wallet of Satoshi. And you can use Blue Wallet to connect to that Alby for the mobile interface if she wants, but she can just set up Nostr Wallet Connect and one click zap if she wants to. If
Oh,
she
that's
wants to go in and like without on her phone without like logging
Yeah.
into the computer, she wants to go read her wallet balance and everything. She can sync that into Blue Wallet just like she could LN Tips and have full access to that like it's a native wallet type thing.
It's
I forgot
NW.
Amethyst had that now. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's nwc.getalb.com is the site that you can connect the wallet connect, and then all you got to do to enter the information is long press the lightning icon on Amethyst, and then you'll
Yep.
see at the bottom there's like this private, I gotta remember what it's called, but like there's like this private key or something like that. You got to connect, and you can use it like through a QR code will populate this stuff. Let me just go through it real quick.
I got
Um,
you. I can figure the rest out. That's cool though.
yeah,
Actually,
nwc.getalb.com.
if you're on Amethyst, right now the default is when you do that long press and you bring up that Lightning menu and you see the Wallet Connect below there, there's a little Alby icon because they're the ones that built the Nostr Wallet Connect, and you can click on that icon and it will take you right to the NWC website
There you go. Yeah.
right there.
Cool.
So yeah, you can just click on that, go in, and she'll need to set up an actual Alby wallet. If she's got the extension, that's great, but she'll need to actually set up an Alby wallet, like an
Yeah.
account on Alby,
Yeah,
and then she'll just log into that for the Wallet Connect. One thing that does throw people off when you're doing that, if you go in and set it up, make sure you go into the settings on the website and click on Wallet because it'll ask you to set up your Lightning address because it may not be the same as your username. You actually have to set that, whatever you are at getalby.com. If you don't set that, it may mess her up later on, like she's wondering why she's not getting stats to that address, because you actually do have to do the step to set it up. But it's really pretty easy once you get past those couple hurdles.
Got it. Sounds good. Yeah, I forgot about that's another thing I missed during the week is the Wallet Connect. I read a little bit about it, but I didn't realize it was already implemented on Amethyst. All right, cool. Perfect. Thank you.
And Umbral actually has a new has the Wallet Connect set up as well. So now you can actually Wallet Connect to Amethyst through your Lightning node as well and your Umbral. So that's
All right,
pretty neat as well.
we just got to get Will.
Yeah, and it sounds like Will's trying to implement it now. Like somebody, I think he already has it on like a private test flight, and somebody was like beta testing it with him earlier today. They were saying during Zapathon, they couldn't like double triple hit people like once they zapped it was like locked, and he's like, you need to change that because I want to hit people with like 17 zaps. So somebody's already trying it. They're already working on that on Will's side. I bet you within 2-3 days we'll see it.
Perfect. So many new toys to play with. I love it.
Every day, man. Gotta keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh man, it was brutal in Mexico with the Wi-Fi and the cellular is kind of a little touch and go. So like trying to get on Damas and catch up and everything. Plus the event, like it was rough. I kind of prioritize people in person versus like online, just because like I wasn't gonna be there forever. So yeah, it's just a weird situation.
How was the event? Did Jimmy run a nice event down there?
Oh yeah, it was Jimmy and Amanda from Bitcasa. They basically set the whole thing up. We had a lot of cool people in person, about 15, 20 people. They were in and out, depending on schedules. People had to fly in and out. And then we had, like, for example, I'll give you a brief rundown on the remote speakers. We had Lawrence from Plebin. We had Gigi. He came on, talked about 21 World. Chief Monkey from Plebeian Market. Andrew from Galloy, Beach Wallet. Michi from Bolts. DNI from Ellen Bits. Zuko from Unpopular Opinions. Mechanic from Start 9, obviously. And then just a few touches from the people that were there in person. They came up at the end. And yeah, it was a great all-around event.
How was the location? Were you on the beach?
Well, so we started out on the beach, north side, in Sisal. We stayed there for like 3 days, just hung out, partied. And then we, like Thursday night, we headed back to Merida, the big city, and got prepared for the next day when the actual conference started. And then that was like a day. And then like we did a little bit extra the next day just with Nostr. And then after that, it was just kind of like hanging out. And I extended the trip for 2 days because it was just really fun vibes. So yeah, smaller events I think are the way to go. You get to introduce yourself to everybody and know everybody versus touch and go, finding random people in the crowd. So I know Miami is going to be the complete opposite. So I'm prepared for that. It's just going to be a little bit overwhelming, I think.
Yeah, but with that though, you also get those little mini events. So you signed up for that Nostr karaoke night?
Yeah, oh yeah, that was. I've been practicing. It's gonna be bad, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. I need a few bourbons before I start, but I'm gonna give it my best.
I think Derek's kind of talked about his experience at the Bitcoin conference. He's kind of like, you just kind of find your little niche group of people and kind of just do little small events throughout the week or whatever, and it kind of
Yeah,
works.
I got an Airbnb for so Sir Sleepy if he wants to stay. I have Sai coming. I have what's his name? The dude that does running with Bitcoin, Paco. He goes around
Oh
the
yeah,
country.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I know. Yes, yeah.
he's gonna hang out at the Airbnb. Um, and then like one other person. I'm just exhausted right now trying to figure it out. But yeah, so like 4 or 5 people, near the conference, and we're gonna have some fun. I can't wait to see Satoshi Tico again. He was cool. He helped out a lot in Costa Rica when we went for the Nostr event. So we'll see what happens.
Nice. When Bitcoin hits 1 million, I'll start attending these conferences. You'll be like, "Hey, Fiend, get the hell out of here! You go to all these damn things." But for now, I got to keep stacking them sats.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Fiat mining and stacking sats. That's what I got to do. Keep my head down. Just keep working.
Did you guys jump on? What was it? They added that feature. I don't know if it's a new feature, but where you could see all of your Zap sent. It was my last post. When I saw that, I lowered my Zap amount a little bit because I was like, I kind of fucked up. I think it was banned. Nostr banned. Let me see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not that band, right? The one where you can see like how many people have zapped and like how many they've been zapped and all that sort of stuff, like all the stats.
Yeah, so UTXL posted that, and I saw it. I was like, "Oh, cool. Let me go check mine out." And then I saw it, and then I was like, "Oh shit." Okay, I got a little too Nostr happy, but you know what? The way I look at it is like it's an investment in the protocol. I kind of want to see people stick around, so it's like, yeah, I got a little excited, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you don't want to get that final check or bill at the end, right? It's kind of how it oh damn! I spent that much at the bar. Oh shit.
Yeah, no, it's easy to forget how much you zap. you get so
Yeah.
entranced in it.
Well, man, I agree with you though. It's like, everyone kind of has it's kind of like this general mentality that you got to hodl all your Bitcoin and that you shouldn't spend any of it because it's such a pristine asset that's only going to go up over time. You'd be a fool to spend it today, but it's kind of one of those things like if you really understand Bitcoin, you understand that in order to gain adoption, increase adoption, you do need to spend it and use it and still keep your reserve stack obviously for your long-term savings. But I mean, we have to show the world that this is a viable form of money.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know,
And I think the
Yeah,
majority of my zaps went to developers, so like it's for the
yeah,
cause.
exactly.
and I think at the end of the day too, it's like it's kind of like that the bar thing, right? Like if someone didn't go and buy the whole round for everybody, then people wouldn't be partying and like having a great time and like doing all that. And it's even better too because like you buy everyone around drinks to get drunk and that's it, right? There's no more drink left. But like you zap everybody and a good, at least on Nostr, like a good portion of those people have been zapping it back out again, and zapping it back out again and again and again and again. So like, your one sat goes a long way out here. And it really does, like you guys are saying, like it pushes adoption. It pushes like the fun factor, right? And like, if you're in this sort of like small closed community, it's doable, and but it keeps people engaged.
Yeah,
It
I'd kind of
encourages
also
others to participate.
Yep, that's the
Absolutely.
big thing.
I'd also cast a wide net with the zapping bitish, like you said. Like I try to just hit as many. I got like 1,800 people I'm following, and I try to just give everyone like little dopamine hits, just so everyone kind of feels like they're not being ignored. And I feel like that's kind of like just been my strategy, at least with zapping, and obviously with the zapathon too. But just kind of keep people engaged and feel like they're part of something. I think that'll also go a long way to keeping people uh,
Yeah, I mean that's part of being
happy and
early, right? Like,
around.
yeah, like part of being early is you have this like responsibility to like watch the baby grow. Like you have to, you got to do these things. Like we all kind of play our own roles, right? Like Island's over here, he's the sugar daddy uncle coming over, dropping stats on everybody, and then and then like guys like us, we're over here changing the diaper, right? For all the little guys aren't being noticed, dropping a couple sats here, a couple there, going everywhere, so doing the dirty work. So you kind of have, it's like a village. It takes a village to grow, to raise a child, and like Noster's the child right now.
Yeah, I think one of the funnest things I have set, and I haven't changed it for weeks, was when Nostr.wine had the welcome relay. I've only had my universe set for that, and I kind of try to go as much as I can and just like say hi to all the new people, because they just need someone to talk to. They're just like, "Hello, world," and then like no one responds, and I'll see like 4 or 5 hours went by, they didn't get anything, not even a like. So it's kind of like it's fun to just go on there and just talk with them and say hi and send them to some resources like Nostr.how or whatever website works, and just try to get them comfortable and let them know that people see them.
Yeah, if you think about it, like, that's also a form of censorship when nobody's interacting with you, right? Like you could just keep shouting into the void, but if nobody's actually gonna like engage with you or participate in anything you have to say, then you might as well just be voiceless. And so it's similar like an unintended censorship thing like NIP 95 was to,
Yeah,
between Damas and Amethyst, right? And so yeah, I think what you're doing there is awesome and great. I never even thought about it that way. Maybe I should
yeah,
try to.
and to be honest, that's what changes Nostr. Like the difference between Nostr and Twitter, right? Like if you're new on Twitter and you post something and you don't have any friends, like you're not going to get a response most likely. So it's a different kind of vibe. And if they see they just joined, they don't know anybody, and they get a message and a little zap, and it's like, what just happened? Like, wow, that's amazing. It just gives people an incentive to stay, and I think that's pretty important. Obviously zapping developers and people that have good content is important, but yeah, the new people, that's the way to grow it for sure.
Yeah, I think you
A
got like
10 sat
people.
zap to a newbie goes a lot farther than a 1,000 sat zap to a developer. I can tell you that. It's a
Yes,
lot more meaningful to somebody who's just getting their feet wet and doesn't understand the culture here yet or how everything comes together. And I mean, I have a lot of folks that I've helped kind of get on board, and people don't realize that once we've been here for a while, we kind of know what we're doing. We take for granted that when somebody shows up, if they don't know what relay to be on or what a relay even is, or they don't have a clue, they've not posted any notes. Maybe the few relays they do have by default in their client don't really share anything from somebody who hasn't posted any notes yet. They don't know why they don't even show up and search for their buddies. So somebody's kind of got to hold their hand right now. And it kind of falls on those of us who are here and not so busy developing things that we can help these new people out.
definitely. I think Nostr directory was pretty cool, where you can grab all your Twitter followers. That kind of helps you get a jump start, but not everybody knows about things like that. So yeah, definitely everybody needs to
Not
look.
everybody followed a lot of people on Twitter or used Twitter that much before they got here either. I was never big on Twitter. I mean, I used it, but I didn't really have a huge following over there or pay much attention to it. So I imported those people over here. That's great. Maybe they're here, maybe they're not, but I didn't really notice because I didn't really spend time there to begin with. So I'd love to see the same concept with other places, though. Like I'd love
Yeah,
to be able to import all the people I have on Telegram. I'd love to be able to have, as horrible of a place as it is, I'd love to be able to plug and play and find all the people that are over here that are using Facebook that I know or Instagram or whatever. I think we need that for all the places, really. If we can, if somebody wants to take the time, while we want to get away from those things, and it's kind of painful to like want to integrate, the only way we're going to get adoption is by understanding that people came from somewhere.
yeah, agreed.
No
Ultimately,
way, man. Twitter felt like my cringy teenage years.
Alan, those tools are going to need
Yeah,
to be,
right.
in my opinion, those tools like Nostr Directory and also the list that we were talking about earlier. I think those tools need to be baked into these clients,
Yes,
because you need to give people a starting point, and so if they can connect to their Twitter followers immediately when signing up for Damas or Amethyst or any other major, Iris or whatever, that's going to give them a head start into getting engagement and getting zapped and kind of getting participation early on, and
If
maybe
if we don't make this
promoting,
so
sticking
easy
around.
that you're Yeah, if this isn't so easy that your grandma can do it, 99.9% of people won't.
But yeah, and even like lists too, like we were talking about, like, if you're into sports, you can check the sports list, and then all of a sudden that goes into like a sub list, like Major League Baseball or or NFL or NBA or whatever. And then you can even go down further sub lists and be like Chicago Bulls or Detroit Pistons or whatever. And then you can start checking like some of these list boxes, and then they'll kind of maybe like put you more in touch with the events and the people that are posting events, more in line with the things, the content you want to see too. And so that's another thing that needs to be baked into some of these kind of get started features within these clients, so that people can start to kind of place themselves in the areas and the ecosystems within Nostr that they want to be in, and that will increase their visibility to other users, and also increase the levels of communication, because they're posting content of things that people can actually know about and can reply to. And so eventually
There's
that's going to come, right? But you
yeah.
know,
There's a few other things too. Like for example, like I have my username on Twitter is Island, and I've been on there since like 2007. So there's people like when I first jumped on Nostr, I found like maybe 20 people that were already on here, and now I was thinking maybe I should just go back and research my follower list and see how many more have added Nostr accounts. Like that's another thing I forgot to do. So like little things like that would be nice. Like if it would remind you or pop,
yeah,
send a message, say, hey, you got a new friend that came. That
right,
would be nice.
exactly. That's a great idea, man. Absolutely, because yeah, I think I follow like almost 5,000 people on Twitter, and I know all those Bitcoiners aren't fucking over here on Nostr because they're still resisting or whatever. But if they end up, getting pissed off because Elon did something stupid again, and they do finally, break, and they do bend and want to come over to Nostr, I definitely want to catch them and follow them, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
really liked the other day. I jumped on the Primal, and my notifications in my notifications on Primal, and maybe there's other clients that do this, and I just don't know about it. But oh, damn alarm! Hold on. But anyway, it gave me a notification that somebody followed me, and I don't see that on Amethyst. Like there's a lot of people that follow me that I have no idea, and I was like, that's awesome, because I love to get a notification when somebody does click the follow button, because most of the time I'll follow you back. But I don't know unless I go and look at my follow list and scroll down and see who is or isn't following me.
At any conference that I went to, like the small ones at Bitcoin Park, I would always say, okay, as soon as you add me, send me a direct message so I can follow you back, because otherwise I won't know. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
Well, check out Primal then, because apparently it's actually giving notifications for. I mean, it's not ready for like daily use as like a regular client right now yet, but it's got some really cool stat features like analytics on your stuff. Like you can like examine your network, you can drill down, you can like look at what's trending or what is or just go and see the feed of not only just your followers, like your broader network of like your followers and who they're connected to, and you can kind of just expand out from there. So it's a really cool for like digging in and finding new people that are maybe not on your followers list or you've ever interacted with, but are like connected to people you're connected to. So probably it's a little bit easier than maybe even jumping on global to find people that will speak the same language as you and maybe be interested in some of the same topics as you. So I've been playing with that quite a bit, and I think it's going places. It's they're working. They got something good going on over there. It's just not really. You can't even zap yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks exactly like Twitter, the way it's laid out, kind of the side to side, just the way the web page is. I'm looking at it right now. Like it doesn't have messages yet, and so yeah, you're right. It's still super early, but it looks nice. It's got a really nice looking UI.
What's up, Sammy? I gotta head out.
Hey, what's happening? You guys hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
So I'm fucking climbing a pretty big hill. There's a pretty big hill up to my house.
Get
I'm
it.
just riding my bike up it. I
Top
feel
of the
like,
morning to you.
yeah, thanks, brother. I feel like Sisyphus pushing this bike up the hill, but I'm trying to convince. I have a really poignant question that I'd like to ask all of you, and I want to convince my wife to allocate a portion of my daughter's sort of fund that we have, nest egg, to allocate a portion of it towards Bitcoin. And I just don't know how to approach her about it. I'm wondering what you guys think of that.
I mean, I could share a little history lesson about my kids. Like, so I'm only 42. I started young. My daughter's 23. My son's 19. And my son, it took him 19 years to start DCAing into Bitcoin. And I tried to set them up when they were young. I tried to do the chores thing, and it didn't work for me, in my opinion. They just didn't care. They have other things to worry about, and now they're starting to pay attention. So it's just a matter of like how you bring it about to them. The way that it worked for my son was I explained it to him like, he knows I've been in this forever. Like he knows I've dealt with Bitcoin, and I talked about it, but it took to the point where like he's an adult now and he's trying to figure out what's the best route to take and what to do. And I broke it down like it's a savings account. Like think of it like a savings account. Instead of using your Bank of America, you get paid from your job and you put your money in there, put some towards Bitcoin. And I was like, you don't have to put it all, dollar cost average. So he's using Strike right now to do that. And it's just a way to get things, the ball rolling. I'd love to hear some others, if anybody has any other advice about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is like also, so I think it's not just like getting him on board, but like I think right now, like Sammy, you're saying that you're trying to get your like wife on board with kind of essentially saving retirement on behalf of your children. Is
Can
that
you guys hear
accurate?
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, no, just making sure. Yeah. See,
So
the
are
thing
you?
is, she's on board, right? It's just the nest egg is like the last little thing that can't be touched, But like the way I view it is like it's too precious not to fucking put into Bitcoin, that kind of way.
Yeah, so like I think one of the big themes that I kind of thought about was like you got to meet people where they are. So you have to really understand like what's her kind of like where is she in the whole Bitcoin adoption, timeline because
Yeah,
it's probably not where you are. And then like once you identify that, right, you can talk to like the points that she needs. Like for example, like some people maybe because if you're saying it's so precious, you don't want to touch it and scared to like screw something up. Well, like you can go through like the diversification sort of thing. Like, so what happens when all the equities fall apart? Like, is that it? Like, or what happens when, a storm comes and all your cash washes away? You can't have it in like any one of those, only one of those things. And like, Bitcoin can be just another thing to make sure everything's okay. And especially it's great value because like where we are now, it's where it could potentially be going, even a little bit goes a ridiculously long way, if all things go the way we think it's going to
yeah,
go. And
yeah,
so like that's
absolutely.
one
But
like
see, the thing is, we're both incredibly. The thing we have in common is that we're both risk averse, so we don't have a high tolerance for risk. But the thing is, we both view risk differently. If you read me,
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like, you know, if you look at like Bitcoin or something, right, to her could be like a whole lot more risky than to you. So absolutely, I definitely see that, and I think then from there it's like talking about it, right? Getting an education, like okay, like why do we view it risk differently? Like what is it, right? Risk is just a word, but like what about it do you feel is risky? Like, and then you kind of break it down, okay, the core principles, and like okay, this is actually it's not that you think it's risky, it's you're afraid that this might happen to it. It might get hacked, or we might get lost, or or the price will go down. Like whatever it may be, you got to kind of drill down to like what's the real fear here, and then like talk to that point.
yeah, thanks for that.
Actually, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about kids. I didn't realize it was your wife. My
No,
bad.
it's both actually. I'm actually trying to get into my nest egg vis-a-vis my wife. And like, sorry, I'm climbing up a hill at the minute.
How
Well,
long? How
We're
young is
both
your
on,
daughter?
yeah, my daughter. Like we're both on the same page. It's not like she's as bullish on Bitcoin as I am, but she just has this last little kernel of like I guess like
Bud?
the
Out?
conditioning, like fiat conditioning, that she just won't let go of, you know. And it's not like I want to allocate all of the nest egg. I just want to allocate a bit of it because, you know, just like look at the state of fiat. Like it's just I don't want to. Like I've worked hard for this. Like I don't want to let all of this go to waste. Like you know.
So your
and
nest egg is sitting in fiat right now? I mean,
Yeah.
you could come to her and just be like, it's guaranteed to melt away, like in value.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
you have to put it in something, right? Like you just can't just stay in fiat and expect. How long is your time horizon as far as like, you want to be saving for your daughter for? Like what are we talking? Like when do you expect to use that nest egg on your daughter? 10 years, 15, 20? I mean,
probably
five,
probably about 15 years. Let's say.
15. So I mean, that's a long enough time horizon where the short term volatility of Bitcoin is going to be like you know
Yeah.
irrelevant,
It's not
right?
me. It's not me. I'm trying to convince. Like I mean, I
Right.
know this shit. Like it's my wife, and don't get me wrong. It's not like my wife is like doesn't get it. Like she gets a lot of it. Like I mean, I told like you know we have a plan. Like if my um like for example like you know if I was to pass away, she knows the seed and you know all that kind of stuff. Like we've discussed all that. She gets it. She gets why printing money is bad, things like that. But just there's just like this little nugget of like concern, you know, this last little nugget of that she can't let go of, like you know, and I don't blame her for it, like you know.
I
Yeah.
But
get
So
Maybe
what is
start
it that?
start talking about. You need to diversify. Let's just say if we want this to be there, we want it to be safe. Nothing is for sure. I mean, even Bitcoin, we as much as we're all bullish on it, nothing is for certain that we
no,
know it'll be there in 15 years.
of
So
course,
let's diversify it. It makes sense to put some of it over here and just start there, start small, and then get her the taste of it, get her comfortable with it, and then maybe kind of tease with a little bit, make a deal, be like, hey, look, how about every time a major bank fails and gets bought out by another bank, we invest a little bit more in Bitcoin. So as fiat fails us more, we adopt more and more, and just kind of work your way that direction. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. But I
yeah, of
mean,
course,
maybe
yeah.
just I think I would work that angle of you want to diversify, you want to have it in a few different places because we want to be sure that it's here for her when she's older.
So
One thing is
what's your name? Because I can't. I'm walking. I can't see your name. Uh, who contributed that bit of information?
That was Renegade.
Renegade. Thanks for that. I definitely think that's the approach I'm going to take. It's the approach I have taken, and it's the approach that's been the most effective. Um, it's I'll tell you where the problem comes from as well. If it was just our money, it would be one thing, but it's actually money that's contributed by my father-in-law and a little bit of money coming from my mother-in-law as well. And that's where it's coming from. It's the idea of because when it comes to our money, like I DCA all the time. It's no issue. She understands it. It's just the idea of toying with other people's money. That is
Right,
where
that's the
it's
thing
coming
because
from.
she sees it as playing. She sees it as toying. She sees it as it's like you said. It's risky because she's still in the mentality of seeing it as it's more like the investment type thing, like playing stocks.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But
it's
but don't confuse that with like the shitcoin stuff. Like she knows it's not shitcoin games. Like
no.
You know,
Right. But
Well,
it's we've shifted the mentality of we see it as something that's secure, that's superior to
yeah,
fiat and
yeah,
whatnot. But so many people, and I think all of us probably at least at one point viewed Bitcoin as an investment, as like
Yep.
buying stocks and bonds, and that's it's it's a mind shift to come out of that to where you almost feel like you're gambling,
yeah,
when you first kind of get into it. And that's, I'm
mm,
sure that's where she's still at. So you kind of
yeah.
got to come at it with
Do you
understanding
want
from
to,
where
that?
she's seeing it. But diversification, I think, would be. And then the other thing is, I would work the angle too, if we want to diversify so that we do secure it a little bit better and we know that it's going
Hmm.
to be there. But it's all that much more important because it's somebody else's money. We
Yeah,
don't want to squander it away and risk it. And it's actually less risky to have it in more than one place than to have it all in fiat.
yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
Exactly.
there's only one
and
thing.
another sort
You
of
talk about
interesting.
uncertainty. Like there's a world. We live in a world of uncertainty. One thing is certain, and that your fiat is going to be worth less today, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now than it is today. And so that's just a guarantee. And so it's got to be put into something that's going to beat the inflation game that we're currently experiencing. And so whatever that is, whatever you decided is, that's where your money should be, not just keeping it in a savings account at a bank, because that's just you're gonna take whatever, if it's $1,000 or whatever, it's gonna be worth $600 in like
See,
15 years or whatever.
like
You know what I
guys,
mean?
that's the thing.
That's just a
I
guarantee.
have laser eyes, right? And I'll be fucking like cross my heart and hope to die. I'll be fucking. I've got laser eyes to fucking heaven, like, right? And I'm not gonna let my fucking hard work go to waste, like, do you know? And so I'm gonna fight this thing, like, and I'm not fighting against my wife, like, she's on board, but it's just like think of sorry,
Getting across the line.
this sounds way more dramatic than it is because I'm like fucking cycling up a hill, but like, do you know, the like, I mean, this is our struggle, like, this is like this generation's fucking triumph, like,
Yeah, I
and
get it. I mean, look, like it's risk, right? Like you said, you're like risk adverse and everything, and so like even though it's not gambling, you're like fully laser eyed and everything. Like there's still that like element of risk, and then when it's like someone else's money, right? Because like it kind of feels like it's not really your money. You didn't earn it, right? It's one thing to risk your own money, but then it's like another thing to risk someone else's money. Someone else's
yeah, but
hard earned
at the
money.
same time, it's someone else's money that's rotting away, like,
Yeah, yeah, and then but
I
you
would
got like
consider that risk. I would consider that risk, leaving your money in fiat for
Yeah, of
15 years. I
course. Like,
consider
but
that
you
a
try to tell
guaranteed
that to,
risk.
like, no harm, but you try to tell that to like a boomer. Like, I hate using that terminology, but like, you try to explain it, and it's just like fucking pissing in the wind. Like,
I could tell you from experience. So I had a client for a long time, and he turned into a friend, and he was the one that convinced me to move to Nashville. And I've tried to talk to him about Bitcoin for many times over the past few years, at least 10 years. And he just kind of didn't want to hear about it. And this guy is a Wall Street guy. He does banking, he does financial stuff. His whole entire life was about fiat, and that's all he knows. And the fact that there's something else out there that's better, I think it scares him because it's something so different. It's kind of like when you're in, just to use an analogy, when you have someone who's in a religion their entire life and you try to change them, that's kind of how it is with Bitcoin. It's
yeah,
like they've only known one thing their entire life, and then all of a sudden it's not true. And
yeah,
it really is a shock to them, and they just don't want to hear it. So it's hard.
yeah. It's ironic that
There's
people
an
view it
element
as
of
a
it's too
religion
good to be
because,
true.
uh, because it's ironic that it's viewed as a religion because it's the exact opposite of dogma. Like, it's verifiable truth.
Hey guys,
Right, but if you grew up your whole life in a religion, it's really hard to shift out of that viewpoint either. It's
Yeah,
it's become so embedded in your persona and
yeah,
your experience
and
that's
not
just
to
a part
shit
of
on
it. But
religion
like I
because
said,
the
there's
thing
also the
the
no,
thing about
but
the
but
thing
there's the
about
element of it's
religion.
too good to be true as well because people see it as just another crypto scam because we've seen so many crypto scams and that doesn't help at
Yeah,
all. And
yeah.
people don't know how
Like,
to separate
I'm
Bitcoin from
religious,
crypto.
right? But I'm honest enough to admit that my religion is based on faith. You know, like my beliefs are based on faith. I know which beliefs are based on faith and which aren't, you know, and I'm man enough to admit that. Like, but the thing is that there's so many, like, the belief in fiat is masquerading as a belief in, like, sort of science, I guess. Like, you know.
It's like Stockholm syndrome. We've been abused so long by our abuser that we take it, and that's all what fiat is. Hey guys, I gotta get going because I gotta wake up in like a few hours. I got a super early work day to my start, so I'm gonna take off. It was great talking to y'all. Thanks for stopping
Good
in
night,
tonight and
brother.
shooting the shit. And good luck to you, Semi, on your quest. Hopefully you can convince her. So
Hey, look, she's the love of my life. She's on board. Thanks, brother.
yeah,
Take care.
take care. Good night,
See
guys.
you, man.
Good night, man.